Iron Lords episode number 12. And we have some special guests in the building. Special Easter Saturday edition. And we have a returning guest, one of my favorite guests. It's always a pleasure to have her, Lady Bella from Real Games Media. Introduce yourself to the people.
Hi, thank you very much for having me.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. And of course, we got our Lord, Channel 5's own Lord Kai, aka Lord Kaiser, aka Lord Kai Batsu, in the building. How are we doing?
Always good to be back. I was in one of the first few episodes, and it feels good to be back. Also, you can't forget the angry neutral gamer.
That's right, the aggressively neutral gamer.
The aggressively neutral gamer.
I tell you, these days of fanboy wars, you gotta be neutral.
Exactly. That's what we respect, Lord Kai. We got him in the building. And of course, my brother from another mother, the co-host with the co-most, the non-aggro gamer himself, Lord Addicts in the building. How are you doing, sir?
Pretty good, man. That's pretty much all, actually. I'm
So
still a little bit
inspiring.
tired. I just woke up.
The chill Lord Addict.
So inspiring. And of course, the Illuminati confirmed himself, more cognito than Lord Cognito himself. Lord Sovereign's in the building. How are we doing, sir?
Doing well. Very happy to be here.
Nice.
It
So
should
should I call him
excellent.
Incognito?
I know I'm about to give him my title. So I just want to go down the line real quickly before we start the show off. What has everybody been playing? Let's start with Lady Bella. What have you been playing this week?
I have been playing a lot of Persona 5, a lot of Mass Effect Andromeda, the Gladiolus DLC for Final Fantasy 15. I have been playing a stupid amount of Nuketown Zombies now that Black Ops 2 is back as compatible. Oh my god, it's so good. Actually, as a matter of fact, I
Finally.
was doing that just before we went live. There wasn't anybody online on my end because it's very early in Australia here. So I was playing solo, and even solo, it's still amazing.
Yeah, that's a great game. Lord Kai, what have you been up to this week?
Persona! Yeah.
Say it with your chest. Say it with your chest.
That was definitely not saying it with your chest.
No, that was from someplace else. That's for sure.
You should squeeze so tight, it's not good.
Yeah, but pretty much it's a game I've been waiting for like about for 5-6 years. So, and since I work 6 days, it's like pretty much it's I only have time on the side just for that. I'm hoping to get back into Zelda soon because I was blazing it for a while, but it's been kind of hard to get any time to play aside from when I'm actually not at work. So.
I hear you. That Persona 5 is ripping up the streets. That's good.
Yeah.
And Lord Addict, what have you been playing this week? What's been going on with you?
Halo Wars 2.
Halo Wars, you got DLC right this week, right?
No, we haven't got the DLC yet, but we're getting, for the first time in I think Halo history, a hunter in the Covenant is going to have a voice.
Nice. That is pretty cool. I like the support that they're doing for it, so that's pretty cool. Continue.
Hang on, wait a moment. That's it? Halo 2 Wars, that's it?
I mean, I did finish Shadow of Mordor yesterday, but I've been playing a lot more Halo Wars than anything. I got like 5 days in Halo Wars too.
That's excellent. I'm looking forward to a well-rounded opinion on the current state of games from you then today, Mr. Addict.
See, this is the one thing though. Like last time I heard about Addict talking about Halo Wars 2, it was kind of like a little bit above meh. But the way he's playing now seems like that. It's like I wonder if it's like it needs to be re-reviewed or something like that.
No, my review still holds up, but it's like I said, like I'm not going to sugarcoat the stuff that they do wrong just because I like the franchise.
Fair enough.
But it's more the case of like what you actually do like is like now the what you actually do like is addictive to the point that you want to play it constantly.
Yeah, it's just a fun game to play. I mean, my average game on there is about 40 minutes long, so.
Okay, I got it.
Cool,
I think it's like any game though, like you can identify the issues with it early on and be quite objective about what they do and don't do well. But the more you play with it, the more you work around those issues, the more those things fade into the background and you just focus on the things you do enjoy.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's like I've been
aspire to be as gamers.
I've just been trying to figure out a good strategy to use with the character I used from the first one, because she had these units called Hawks in the first one, but they took that completely out of the game. So
Cool. Lord Sovereign, what have we been playing this week?
Well, I'm sorry to disappoint Lady Bella further, but I've just been playing Zelda, and that's it.
I love Lord Sovereign. You're like on a 4-week streak.
I am. If you look at my playtime, I probably have damn near 200 hours in, and I'm just now gonna tackle my first Divine Beast. So
You're playing kind of like me. Yeah, like you're not doing the story purposely, and like you're just exploring. Yeah, I'm doing kind of the same thing.
The diversity is real.
That's the same way I play. Like one of the missions in Zelda has it where it's like they said, "Oh, can you go help us fight the Divine Beast?" And I'm like, "Dude, I got Kokoro Seeds to get. Screw you."
It's not even really that. It's like, can you please help us do this Divine Beast? It's like, well, that's part of the story. I'll eventually get to you.
I'll get to you later. Yeah, I'm gonna take my sweet time exploring the world first.
No love for the people of Hyrule.
No, none whatsoever.
He's like, "Screw you guys. I'm going this way."
No.
The funny thing is, yeah, you know that we're usually pretty diverse in what we play, but Zelda is just kind of man. It's just
I'm with you.
It's taken away so much time from everything else. It's crazy.
Yeah, kind of the same deal. Just got back into finding like a whole bunch of shrines. I was doing that, and I actually picked up a little indie title from Nintendo called Mr. Shifty, which I had my eye on. I picked that up this week.
Oh, definitely want to hear about that.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like the design is very stylish. It's very cool. They do have a frame rate issue when things get hectic on screen, but I was told by the devs that day one patch is coming to address that. But it's really cool. Like you guys should check it out. It's just like the shifting ability. He can go through bullets, and he actually like can be killed instantly. So you have to use the powers, and it's a lot of platforming, some stuff in there too. So pretty cool, unique title. Yeah. And that's pretty much it.
I've been thinking about picking up Recore.
Yeah, it's on the sale. The sales are great this week, right?
Yeah, they're good for people who don't have every game there.
Well, what I'm amped about though, especially, although I don't know if you're going to go into this with your Nintendo discussion, but next week they're releasing the remake to the Wonder Boy Dragon's Trap.
Oh yes,
yeah, that is true.
Old school Sega heads, and Master System heads. Oh man!
The new animation they have looks beautiful.
Yeah, we're cut from that cloth. We're old Sega peeps, so they're definitely good to see the Wonder Boy reemerge. But we're gonna get this show started. We got a lot of great topics. This has been a huge information week, so I want to get this jumping off right quick. So first thing I wanted to bring to the round table for the lords and milady is first we'll talk about Nintendo's huge news week. So we've seen a lot of things going down with Nintendo this week. Obviously, first off the bat, MPD came out, and obviously we know the news as far as the Switch from a hardware perspective, really crushing it out there, winning the month of March, as well as the Zelda software sales, which are pretty impressive considering that they sold more games than Switches, I believe, which was quite interesting. So we had that. We had the Nintendo Direct, and then
I think that might be the first time that's ever happened in like gaming history.
Yes, 102% attach rate, which is interesting. And we also had the, like I said, Nintendo Direct, as well as some interesting news in reference to the NES Classic being discontinued. So wanted to bring this to the round table. What did we think of Nintendo's week? Also, if anyone get a chance to catch the Nintendo Direct as far as the titles and the software lineup for the remainder of the year, anybody can jump in as they choose.
Yeah, I was able to check out the Nintendo Direct video myself, and right now it definitely seems like a good lineup. I'm mostly looking forward to Payday. Hopefully they'll be able to. If they can keep the frame rate up, that's going to be the one game, the party game that you can actually bring in. And also, it's like that was a game when it came on the consoles. It's like there was too many stuff coming out at the time, so I couldn't really devote myself to it. Feel like that.
Totally agree. Yep, totally agree.
If they can get it to a point where it runs great on the Switch, that could be the sleeper hit for it. Plus also Mario Kart.
Mhm. Yes. Yes. Any other games caught your eye in that list, Kai? As far as
Fate
for as far,
Extella. Fate Extella also looks good, but also I'm looking forward to the Wonder Boy next week. That was one of my big games when I actually saw it.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, but that's already coming out. It's not part of the Nintendo Direct.
Gotcha.
All in all, it looks like they have a good lineup going about. The only thing I am still worried about is that they still haven't announced anything about the virtual console.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. We're all holding our breath for that. We're waiting for those Nintendo titles. Now, Lord Kai, just before I let you go, move on. Did you get the news in reference to the MPD? What did you feel about it? And also, I wanted your opinion on the actual discontinuing of the NES Classic.
Thing is, for a collector, I'm probably the wrong person to say about that because I know of the NES Classic was a good collector's item. But truth be told, is like I'm a person who has dealt with emulators for a long time, so it's so for me, it's a good product for collectors and stuff like that. But I've never was really that into it. So
gotcha.
Addict says, "Who cares?"
No love for the collectors and the classics. Okay, all right.
If it's older than me, I don't care.
Also,
Oh,
the one thing I actually could have gone down for it a little bit, but the only thing, and it still bewilders the mind, that they took the Japanese Famicom way, where you have the little wire with the controllers, and I'm like, so you got to play up there on a tabletop with the wire all close, and it's like, I'm sorry, you guys should have done that joint wireless.
I mean, the only thing I have an issue with is I feel like they should have met the demand that the demand wanted. You know, anyone that wanted that particular product should have been able to get it, no problems. And the fact that they discontinued before that happens, a little sleazy. But besides that, I'm like, I don't care.
Okay, Lady Bella, what was your whole impressions of Nintendo's big week? All the things going on with them this week.
Look, I think they're putting a very good foot forward. Obviously, they're going to be holding on to a lot of stuff for their presentation in June. That's going to be where they're going to be doing the main drive forward to get more consoles off shelves and back into lounge rooms again. They've had an amazing launch. Really, a lot of people actually look at it and see this very, very small list of 5 to 6 games that they know of and think that there wasn't a great deal that was released upon launch day. But there was actually like 22 titles that came out on launch day, which for Nintendo wasn't too bad. And the other thing that really annoys me about people's perception about the Switch is that they feel like there isn't a great deal of games. There's actually 176 games.
Talk about it, Lady Bella. Talk about it. I'm excited when you say that.
That are being ported across to be a part of the multi-plat on the Switch. We've got 21 that are exclusives, 5 that will be just Nintendo exclusives, 11 that we don't know what they're going to be. So those are things that we can expect a bit of information at E3, and then 139 multi-plats as well. So, there's a lot coming to the Switch, and the fact that they're coming out with so many different presentations and providing us with, gameplay of ARMS and Splatoon 2, and, they're actually really starting to engage with the community a lot more and a lot more frequently than what we're typically used to, which does help with not only the hype of what is available now and the stuff that we know is releasing, but also keeping the people sort of on the edge of their seat a little bit on the approach to E3.
Absolutely. Now, were you, Lady Bella, was you surprised by any, as far as the MPD numbers themselves? Did that surprise you that they won the month? Where you at as far as that? Because I know the fanboys love this kind of stuff. So
that question in itself. Yeah. Was I surprised that the new Nintendo console that launched that month won NPDs? Was that the
question? Fair enough.
There we go.
I wanted to throw things.
I do want to come out there and say that regardless if it's a new console, I feel like the numbers might have doubled if Nintendo could meet demand like they should be.
Absolutely. They needed to have more on shelves.
Yeah, and let's just take this into consideration. They sold 1 million+ units off of Zelda. Just Zelda.
Right.
Yep.
Could you imagine if they launched with Zelda and Mario and had enough consoles to support the demand? the numbers would be catastrophically huge. Like,
I think when it comes to this holiday, I think because what they wanted to do is they wanted Zelda to get their install base, increased, and then when the holiday comes around, they're going to use that gamer to gamer, mouth to mouth thing where it's like, this game's awesome. They want the media to, because we all know the media is going to highly praise the new Mario game, and they don't really want to ride that hype wave when that game comes out to sell more Switches.
As long as it's got turtle shells and bananas skins, I'm sold.
And you got to understand that. I mean, the Zelda, as good as it did, it still was out for the Wii U. So there was, a lot of people that could just pick it up on the Wii U. They didn't have to buy Switch, but Mario's not going to be that game. Mario, you have to buy a Nintendo Switch to play.
The one thing
I think that it's no, sorry, Lord Kai, you go.
Thing is, the one thing I wanted to throw in about this, and also that's why I laugh at the hate that people have for the Switch, is that the hate that people have for the Switch, it's based off of the hate that people gave for the Wii and the Wii U. But the main difference is that the Wii U, the main way to play was a gimmick. Was a gimmick that got tired after a while, like holding up the remote, playing the game like this. The Switch itself, regardless of the extra stuff you can do, you're playing it a regular way: D-pad, analog stick. So,
and it feels natural too. I felt like the gamepad when I played it. It wasn't the fact that it didn't feel natural. It just it didn't seem like you. It seemed weird because I felt like the screen was too clunky. And because my cousin has one, and I was helping him play Zelda because he wanted to know where the Hyrule Shield was. So like I grabbed the Switch pad, not the Switch pad, the Wii U pad, and I'm like, yo, I'm so glad I played this on a Switch. Like it's just like really clunky and bulky. Yeah. It's like like playing the original Xbox One controller and then playing an Xbox One controller.
Yeah.
No, I hear you, Lost Sovereign. What's your feeling of Nintendo's big week? And did you get a chance to catch the Direct?
Yeah, also? I definitely caught the Direct. I was just like Lord Kaiser. I'm excited about Payday. Just the fact that you have that sort of game that's been on the more powerful consoles already, and just kind of as a showpiece, saying, look, we can run this stuff too. And Payday 2 has a pretty dedicated following. There are a lot of people who love those Payday games. Yeah, and to play them in that multiplayer setting that the Switch would provide, where you can actually just be sitting in the same room with your friends, kind of taking on a mission and breaking into a bank or whatnot. I think if it works well, it would be a great showpiece for what multiplayer can be on the Switch, as well as what they sort of showed with Splatoon, and what I'm expecting out of Mario Kart also. So yeah, I was pretty excited by everything that I saw. In terms of the funny thing is with the Joy-Cons, with the new Joy-Cons, the yellow Joy-Cons, and the fact the fact that they throw in the extra battery pack thing at the end, and it's like wait a minute, the Joy-Cons don't really need extra battery. The Joy-Cons,
it was like who really needed that? Like, was it something we needed?
Well, the reason they needed it for one specific reason, because the battery pack adds bulk to the Joy-Con and it makes them easier to use and control. So they kind of subvert, it kind of slipped that in there. Like, yeah, we realize that the Joy-Con are a little small. Throw this on there and sort of.
We kind of messed up. But for this price, we fix it.
Little by little, we'll fix it. But like Lady Bella was saying, people don't really. It's hard to sort of quantify where a lot of these games are coming from, and a lot of people, when you see it outwardly, it's easy to say they don't have a lot of stuff coming. If you're only looking for Nintendo stuff, the games might be spaced out in such a way that maybe you don't see it that way. But I'm happy with the output. I mean, we're getting Mario Kart in a few weeks. We're getting Splatoon in the summer. ARMS is coming. ARMS isn't something that necessarily appeals to me, but watching the video, you can tell that there's a lot more nuance to it than originally was kind of seen. Like, there's a lot of movement stuff, and with the different arms and the abilities that they provide. So it seems like it's a cool game. I don't know that's something that I would pick up, but it's definitely more than it appears to be initially.
There's a lot of titles that people are overlooking as well. Like Addict mentioned, Wonder Boy, that comes out on April 18th, so in like 3 days. We've got Fatal Fury, King of Fighters, obviously Mario Kart, NBA Playground.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yes. Yeah. Oh my God.
Right. We've got Rhyme, Tumbleweed, Minecraft, Ultra 6, Street Fighter 2, Cars 3, ARMS, Troll and I, Stardew Valley. Like, there's a lot of really good games. NBA 2K18, The Elder Scrolls. There's so many good games that are going to be available on Switch.
Yeah.
Did anybody mention Minecraft? I think Minecraft is like a huge deal.
Yeah.
Oh, it's absolutely huge. It's not for me, but it's huge.
It's not for me either. I'm with you, Lord. I'm not the Minecraft guy, but I was just impressed and how quickly like Minecraft is next month. Like that to me, I was like, wow, they got that done pretty fast.
And I do think it's kind of weird that they're showing these in a direct. When, you know, let's be real here. If they didn't have anything at E3, they could show this in a direct at E3. So
great point, Lord, because that actually emboldened my position as far as, you know, if they're telling all this now and getting this out of the way pre E3, I'm very excited to see what they have to showcase, you know, for E3, because I think a lot of people are kind of underestimating. I mean, we do know the Scorpio's coming, you know, as far as E3, and we know Sony's got a lot of games that they can show up their sleeves. Shout out to Lord King, hashtag fear the list, because I know he's not here and he wants to talk about that list. Lady Bella, if you don't know,
I don't even want to hear about it because
I'm gonna bring it up to Lady Bella. She's not here. She wasn't there for it. But I don't know if you got a chance to see. There was a supposed leak of a Sony E3 press conference and what games would be announced, and it was a pretty robust list. So the bet between the lords themselves, with Lord Sovereign, Lord King, they feel that list is true, and that these games would be released, or not released, but at least shown in some type of capacity as a teaser trailer. So,
well, here's the thing about that, and we'll just brought this really quickly so we don't make Lord Attic have a hemorrhage. The thing about Sony is they don't do leaks. Sony is amazing at not doing
that
leaks.
Is true.
That list is a common sense list.
Absolutely. There you go. There you go. Thank you. Thank you.
You're emboldening Lord Sovereign right now, Lady Bella.
All it's going to take is that Bloodborne being denied, and you lose your whole argument.
All we need is one game of that list to be wrong. Okay, Lady Bella, I'm sorry.
It's a common sense wish list, not a leak. Sony don't do leaks like that, particularly at E3. They are so good at not having that happen. Like, you know, it would be unprecedented. I don't see that they would be doing that for hype. They don't need the hype. The thing is that nobody's worried about Sony because everybody's busy playing all the damn exclusives on Sony.
Yeah, absolutely.
Crazy
it's a lot going on.
But as you said, it's a common sense list, meaning common sense would tell you that those titles are in all likelihood somewhere down the pipeline. Not necessarily named not necessarily named exactly the way they named on the list. Certainly not put, you know,
goalpost moving Lord Sovereign.
Oh no.
So he's saying that
I would never agree to a bet indicating yes, this is going to be on for 3 minutes and 30 seconds exactly. I'd never agree to that.
I hear you. So, Lord Attic. So, what was your? Did you get a chance to watch the Nintendo Direct at all, or
I watched a couple? I mean, I didn't watch the Direct itself. I watched the individual videos that Nintendo put out.
Yeah.
And I mean, the games are cool. There's a couple games I'm definitely interested in, but for the most part, it might add like 1 or 2 games to what I have now. But I wouldn't hold my breath that I'm gonna be buying every game they show.
Was there one particular game, Lord Attic, that got you at least excited? That you
there was a couple. I like that Battle Crasher game, that turn-based Battle Crasher game.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, they didn't even show one of your favorite games that they mentioned at the other Nintendo, the Nindies.
Too?
Yeah, Escapist is coming. There's so many other little indie games that they've announced that also weren't shown at this Direct that are still on route too.
And also, they mentioned one game though, especially. So, now the expansion. There was one game also in that I'm surprised that they even bring it to the Switch, and also it would be good for it. The RPG Maker, the latest RPG Maker,
and that's for the 3DS, which completely confused me. Like,
that's a 3DS.
It's 3DS only. It's not for the Switch, which, you know, they'll probably bring.
It would have been better for the Switch. So
I feel like that should have been. See, See, Nintendo already making dumb decisions.
What you didn't appreciate about Grandpa Nintendo this week? What you didn't appreciate about that?
It's decisions like that I get that, maybe it's just because it's been developed for the 3DS so that they don't have enough to go out and say that they're going to bring it for the Switch. But that, there are certain stuff that they did for the Wii U cycle that completely destroyed the Wii U brand. Like, I understand that, Super Smash Brothers for the 3DS last gen was obviously because they have a lot more, they have a lot of 3DSs out there they need to make money. But why would you release the 3DS version before the Wii U version? It just doesn't make sense to me. They're like, well, they don't want to lose that install base. I'm not saying don't launch it for the 3DS. I'm saying do it after the Wii U version, because there's a lot of people that's not, do it like 3 months after, because there's a lot of people that's not going to wait 3 months to play Super Smash Brothers. But since they did it first, it got people like my cousin was like, well, why do I have to buy it? I have a 3DS. I don't have to buy a Wii U for it. It's decisions like that. Like
I think their thinking in that regard was that they were expecting the people that are really hardcore about Smash to purchase the 3DS version, and then because in terms of gameplay and in terms of there was a lot of interchangeability between the games, so it was like they were kind of meant to be used in conjunction. And for certain things. So I think that was their thinking in regard to that. And they figured if you don't release the 3DS version before the Wii U version, no one's buying the 3DS version. Because once they see the graphical disparity, even though the graphic in terms of art style was a little different, it was a little more painterly on the 3DS.
Yeah, I can understand that argument.
Yeah,
but when it comes down to it, the 3DS is already an established brand, and the Wii U was struggling. So it should have been the Wii U first.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Super Smash though is starting to get a big following in the fighting game scene. So you kind of got to think about it this way: 3DS is a portable version that these people can use to practice and whatnot. And most people, they're going to be playing on the console, regardless of. Nobody was really playing like playing multiple Smash Brothers tournaments just on the 3DS. I don't even think it will allow you to go that high.
Well, I mean,
the console still allows you to put more people into the match.
I mean, talking about the fighting area, I mean that's kind of a small niche area of the fighting area. So, I mean, obviously these people are going to be playing it on the Wii U, but I'm talking about like an overall casual market. All these casual gamers, if they got a 3DS, they're not buying a Wii U just to play one game. They're just not going to do it, especially if they have the platform that it came out on first. It's not the fact that I understand that a portable version is better, but you can't really complain about your console not selling well when you do stuff like not release the remakes for the Zeldas again, which a lot of people would have complained, but who didn't want to play a re-enhanced version of Majora's Mask, a re-enhanced version of Ocarina of Time? It was all for the 3DS, and it's like you keep catering to the 3DS market, and you wonder why your Wii U market is nothing.
Yeah, it's a tough one, right? Because it's like. Isn't it still successful for them? Because I was actually surprised myself when the Direct started and they were still kind of started off with a lot of 3DS titles before they even jumped into the Switch. So the vibe I got was like, okay, they're not ready to completely discontinue this just yet. So maybe support for another year or so before they kind of phase into an all Switch kind of thing. So that's the vibe I got. I mean, I'm not a 3DS guy. I didn't have it. So, I didn't
if they don't eventually drop the support for the 3DS and have all their developers in one place, I feel like the Switch might have the same issues the Wii U had.
But in their defense, I've seen a lot of 3DS games that were in development now saying that they were canceled. I forgot which game it was. Lord Kai knows what it is, and I think that they even offered the Kickstarter money back to the people who invested in it because they said they were going to do a Switch version. And I've seen a couple other titles, announced that were 3DS bound that are now confirmed Switch.
The people who make Bravely Default, they usually make 3DS games, and they're making a Switch game. So
I think this is going to be really interesting for them moving forward. I think when it comes to, because at some point, you have to kind of unify all of that development onto the Switch. That's the way they're going to remain strong throughout, is to constantly have a flux of games and have all of their development go into that. I think at some point, and maybe they're working on this already, they look into finding a way to emulate 3DS on the Switch, so that you're not alienating all these people that bought 3DSs, and then hopefully when it comes to digital purchases, they'll allow people who've made digital purchases for 3DS, all of that to kind of cross over also with what we're expecting from the Switch, to that all our digital purchases are going to move forward with us. This is hoping, obviously, but I think they've got to figure out some sort of way so that you don't sort of alienate the entire 3DS player base when you decide that you're going to go full Switch.
To be honest, that's the vibe I got. I was like, I don't think they want to piss off their 3DS base, and that's why they're acting like, oh no, we're still supporting this.
What they want to do is they want to ease their 3DS fan base into it, because if you make them mad, they're not going to make the Switch. They're just going to go to their competition.
Yeah.
So definitely. So we're gonna just pretty much, Lord, you guys knocked it out the park as far as my impressions of their week. I mean, obviously my gut told me that Nintendo was gonna win NPD. The Zelda thing was definitely surprising as far as the attach rate. I just kind of attribute it to people buying like either two versions of the game or the collector's edition, or maybe just buying it thinking that they were gonna get a Switch. And still waiting to get a Switch, but unfortunately,
only people lucky enough to do that is Kid Smooth.
I heard that. I heard that situation a lot, where people got their Zelda Zelda in anticipation of being able to get a Switch, and then weren't able to get a Switch. So,
my friend John is still looking for a Switch.
Quick question though: does that NPD also include digital sales too?
That's a good question. I am not sure.
The whole 5 people that bought it on digitally.
I believe they recently started to include digital sales, so I think so. Don't quote me on that, but I think so.
No, thing is, if they bought it on digital, it's actually pretty really good, because one, the storage medium that the Switch uses is incredibly cheap. I got a 200 gig micro SD for $50. And plus, I was able to download the Zelda 15 gigs in a little bit over 45 minutes to an hour. That is great. And honestly, it's the best one. It's the best in terms of actually the speed, because anyone who's had a Vita knows that you could download 2 gigs in like about 6 hours with them. But
and as far as the third parties Nintendo's week in reference to the Direct, I mean, it was so many good titles I had my eye on. I'm very excited. I'm just impressed with the month-to-month, either a AAA title and then squeezed in with indies in between. It's definitely what I like. It seems like the developers are starting to catch on as far as the install base and slowly start to give Nintendo some stuff. I thought Payday was a huge thing. I agree with Lorkai as far as that, having that on the go. And I'm okay with games like AAA games that may be a year or 2 years older being, released for the system. I think the portability is a factor, and there are games exactly like Lord Kai said that I kind of missed out in the generation because they were just too close to release, and I had to make a decision, and I didn't really get a chance to invest into a game like Payday. So to have that on the go, and to me, it also shows confidence in their online infrastructure. So, I'm excited. And as far as the I'm with Lord Addict on the Nintendo NES Classic discontinuation. I feel sorry for the people who didn't get it, but honestly, the vibe I got was that they're trying to push virtual console. So, I think eventually, that's maybe counterproductive for them having the Classic out there when we all know virtual console will be announced at some point, whether at E3 or later in the year. So that's pretty much my take on it. But I thought it was a huge week for Nintendo.
I think the biggest, they're having good third-party support, but I think there's certain they need to look at the gaming industry and all these games, and they need to be like, what games is more beneficial to be portable, and that's the third-party games that they need to be making.
Exactly.
On the Switch.
No, absolutely. But also you got to, in their defense, I also want to say that, remember, a lot of these big third parties want to see that. They were nervous. They needed to see if that install base was going to be what it was. So
I'm sure they're still nervous because, just because 1 month they sold over a million don't mean nothing.
There's a lot of people, a lot of third parties, the big guys, EA and those guys, they're giving them one title, and it's like a wait and see because a lot of them been burnt, by the Wii U, and they don't want that situation again. So I can't blame them. But I think Nintendo's doing, the right thing and getting off to a good start. So I'm going to keep this moving, and I'm going to get into the next topic on the round table. Lord Addicts, I'm going to talk about Xbox digital refund policy that seemed announced this week, right?
Yeah, so Microsoft, they're finally going down the Steam route, which, I think it's about time. I guarantee you, I give it 6 months and PlayStation will adapt this because, they can't the competition. I don't know. Who knows what PlayStation does? But they put this policy in place where it's pretty much like Steam. I can't remember the exact details. I think if you've opened it and haven't played it for 2 hours, you can refund it. And if you haven't played it at all for 2 weeks, you could refund it. It's not.
It's a combination of both. Right. As long as you haven't played more than 2 hours of gameplay collectively across all profiles, and it's within 2 weeks or 14 days of you asking for that refund, they will grant it.
And it's like no questions asked either. So that's my question. Besides the overall topic that we're talking about is, do you guys think that this was, just a policy that they feel like was needed, or do you think there's some kind of announcement that's digitally based that they felt like this needed to be implied to make that program work that's going to be announced at E3?
Well, to kind of put it on this, it's that it's just them, I think, is trying to more establish that to make digital the preferred model. I mean, actually, the model that they have showing right now, the 2 hours plus also if you haven't played over 2 weeks and whatnot, is actually more generous than what Google Play has right now with their apps. With Google Play, it's pretty much the same thing. Is where it's like that if you play less than 2 hours, and whether you don't like it or whatnot, they'll give you a refund, no questions asked. That pretty much it's to get more people to go to digital. I mean, that's all I can say. Really.
Lord, so what do you think about that in reference to the timing of the announcement and just the announcement itself?
Well, I think back to Lord Addict's point, and it kind of echoes everything that I've been saying about wanting Xbox sort of blurring the line more and more between what the Scorpio is going to be and what a PC is, and sort of kind of taking on all those tenets of things like Steam and in terms of digital purchases and how they just want that entire ecosystem to flow from device to device very seamlessly. So this was to me and sort of obvious step in moving forward, moving more towards that ideal. I think it's a great thing. I think I think maybe the 2 hours might be it's a little low. I think maybe give it another hour, maybe like 3 hours, and that way a person can really get a sense of a game and see, sometimes some tutorials last 2 hours and you never know, you just never know, game to game. But I think it's a positive. Yeah, I think it's a positive thing for them. I think it goes perfectly in line with what they're looking to do with Scorpio. And I think, again, Phil realizes that they have to go to the complete opposite end of the spectrum in terms of making sure that everything they provide in terms of services is all consumer friendly. Everything that they do has to be from the standpoint, how does this affect the gamer? And let's make sure that it has as little negative impact on the gamer as possible. So this could only be a positive thing. I've already seen people saying negative stuff online, that this is BS, this isn't going to work, this, that, the other. Whatever, you can't be mad about an additional feature that gives you at least some leeway in returning a product that you may be dissatisfied with.
I will say, because I was on Twitter when all that was announced, that there wasn't a lot of damage controlling for it. People called it as it is. It's a good movement forward, and these days in gaming, especially on the media kind of sort, where any kind of social media, you see any announcement for any console announced, it's like the opposite fanboys are just trying to move the goalposts. But I didn't see that, so I was proud.
Yeah, I definitely got the sense when I was just catching the interwebs, once that was announced that it was people looked at it was kind of like pro-consumer, and people were like, yeah, commend Microsoft, and kind of pressuring, Sony and other people to follow suit. But I want to get Lady Bella's opinion about this topic as far as the digital refund policy.
I actually have multiple issues with it.
Ooh,
so I think the first thing to keep in mind is that this is actually just in alpha at the moment. So it isn't available for people to run out and do that tomorrow. So please don't go making a digital purchase tomorrow thinking that you are going to be able to get the refund. You're not. It's in alpha at the moment. It's not available to the public.
That is correct.
The second thing is that how is this actually, and this isn't in order either. I'm just going to throw things out there as they spring to mind. How is that actually going to affect sales numbers down the track as well? Are we going to now see an influx of how many copies digitally are sold of a game? Because a lot of people are buying it thinking, well, I can test it out for 2 hours, and if I don't like it, I can refund it. So it's going to be potentially giving us an inaccurate view of how many copies of that game were actually bought and played. The other thing that I have an issue with is achievement hunters abusing the system by buying little indies that they can smash through the majority of it and get a whole heap of achievement points out of it, and then an hour and 59 later, refund it, go and get another one. So, and this is why it's in alpha as well, because obviously they would be looking at all these different things and bringing it in. But if they don't take that into consideration, I could see how that system would be well abused. The other thing is that I think 2 hours, 2 hours is really not fair. Like, for example, could you imagine if people were able to get a refund of Mass Effect Andromeda after 2 hours?
A lot of people would have used that one.
And the other thing is, pardon?
No, I'm sorry. You're correct, Lady Bella. I mean, as far I'm thinking from the negative aspect that attention that Mass Effect Andromeda got pre-patch, right? When the faces had the dead eyes and people were showing the glitches, and I can totally see a situation. That's a great point. I can totally see a situation where people saying, "Oh, I'm using that refund."
People already do it on Steam all the time.
And just size-wise too, that's the disparity. Like when you're looking at a game that's as big as Mass Effect, like it's not fair. Like quite frankly, like 2 hours, you may not even get to EOS in 2 hours. Like
exactly, it's not fair to do that to a game, to restrict it to the first 2 hours and then expect people to be able to get a decent view of what it is that they're going to be progressing onto for potentially the next 20 to 150 hours of gameplay. The other issue that I have is that is also really unfair to games that are currently in the market as well. So obviously, like we've just said then, a lot of games that have come out without a development viewpoint of, right, we need to sell people in the first 2 hours. It's not really going to be fair to them in the long run. It's going to be a small portion of sales, but still it's not very fair to them in the long run anyway. The other issue that I have is how is this actually going to affect development in the future? Now, we know that a lot of companies on Steam already cater to that by making sure that there's something within the first 2 hours that will captivate and pull their viewers into playing the game.
In the first 2 hours, and it just sucks afterwards.
Oh my Lord.
Is that going to shift the development process, though? Is that going to make studios sit back and go, well, right, now that this is happening on consoles, and we do develop primarily for a console, we are now going to have to take a completely different approach to that first couple of hours of the game, and instead of creating maybe a long, in-depth storyline driven spend time creating character development and a bond between you and the people that you're gaming as and with, we're now going to have to start off with all guns blazing, everybody running, shooting bombs and pew pew pew. I don't want to see that happen. I don't want developers changing their vision and their creativity to cater to a 2 hour refund policy. The other issue that I have is that, yes, refunds do need to happen, but I think that there needs to be a stronger set of criteria as opposed to, I've played less than 2 hours of it. There needs to be some sort of reasoning behind it. Now, yes, there does need to be a refund policy, and I completely agree with anybody who buys a digital game that ends up finding a few hours down the track, you're like, you know what, I just spent... For me, for example, in Australia, to buy a AAA game, it cost me $99.99. So I spent $100 on a AAA. Like, looking at you, Battlefield 4 that was broken as hell. For the
Ooh, remember that? Yeah, that refund policy would have been used for me on that.
I would have loved to have been able to get a refund on that. I knew within the first 5 minutes, I was like, what the hell is going on? I've spawned into a room, there's no walls, I can't escape. I'm shooting out, and people are dying, but they're shooting in and they're killing me. Oh my God, it was bad. But anyway, the other thing that I think that is really important that we keep in mind here is that gamers it's not like we're back in the days of the 80s where you literally either had to rely on what one of your friends told you, or you walked into a game and it was a cover art that sold you and a little blurb on the back. We as gamers have so many different platforms available to us now that we can well and truly educate ourselves about what we are about to purchase, that if you run out and you purchase something early on without doing any of that research, or if you're still unsure, you don't wait until release day so you can watch some streams or even join some early access streams. You know, there are a lot of different companies like, you know, IGN and RGM that will do streams early on when they get review codes, and you can actually check that out prior to release date. We have so many different mediums available to us to educate us on what we're about to purchase. If you don't go ahead and educate yourself and then you go and make that purchase and then complain that it wasn't what you expected, that is on you, not the development studio, and you're not entitled to a refund. Anyway, that's me.
Now, let me ask you this. Lady Bella, you make some great points. Now, let me ask you, to your points, I wanted to ask you this question. Like, so obviously we know this is in alpha, right? But my question is, what would some suggestions that you would do? Are you against the policy completely, or do you have any suggestions that you feel they need to implement to kind of shape it to be better?
I'm not against the policy as a whole. I'm against the general concept that has been exposed at the moment. However, having said that, Microsoft haven't exactly come out and given us a long list of this is how this is going to work and that's how that's going to work. We know some very, very, very short details about what is going to be obviously a much broader program or system that they're going to be implementing. So we could probably sit here and speculate back and forth all day long and still be wrong about what the end deliverable will be. But if it comes out as basically your 2 criteria that you have to meet is you either haven't played it in more than 14 days of purchasing it, or if you have, it's less than 2 hours across all your profiles. I'm like, you know what? Come on. You're selling yourself short, Microsoft, because you have companies that you pay money to develop IPs for you, and you're putting them in this bucket where they have to go. Like, there's a lot of games where you have to go through a tutorial that will sometimes take you up to an hour, and then you'll dive into the game. It's like, and you're going to tell me that I have to base my opinion off this game where I get to pay an hour's worth of tutorial and then an hour's worth of just getting off a damn ship, and I have to make a decision about whether I want to invest into this game or I need a refund? No.
Okay, so what do you do with the time constraint issue? Like, is 2 hours not enough time? Is 2 hours? I mean, I want to bring this up because I see Lord Ruler in the chat, and he's saying that they should give half price of what you paid regardless, because if you open the physical game, you can't get a full refund on an open physical game you purchase. So my question is in reference to that, and as well as the hours that are allowed. So are we in agreement that 2 hours is just too short? Is it too long? Where are the Lord's laid it?
Very generous.
It really depends on the game. I think there needs to be a scale. If you're playing a little indie game that could potentially only take you 3 or 4 hours to get through, I think 2 hours is ridiculous. You played already half of it already. You know, like there is just too many variables at play to even be objective about putting forward how I think that this could be implemented better. I'm sure that there are some marketing gurus sitting in a box with large cappuccinos and Krispy Kremes right now trying to figure it out.
Absolutely.
But that's not us. So, you know, I mean, we can only speculate. There's a variety of different ways that they can take this into consideration, but I do believe that this 2 hour time limit, if that is something that is implemented and becomes the norm across the board, will ultimately influence development. And I don't want to see that happen.
Okay, these are good points. Lord Kai, I want to get your opinion on this. Sorry, with Sav, did I cut you? Did you want to jump in?
No, you can go ahead. That's fine.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Lord Kai. I want you to jump in.
Actually, Bella brings up a lot of good points, because if you think about it, what they actually said is a rough sketch of what is going on. But then you have a bunch of other nightmare scenarios that can come about that'll just screw up the entire thing. Listen to what Bella said. It just made me think about another thing. How does this affect digital pre-orders? So pretty much. So think about this. It says, so imagine like Mass Effect. You pre-order it for the longest time, but then a month before you start hearing about the glitches, you started hearing about the faces, started hearing about all that. Technically, you haven't even bought it yet because it's a pre-order. So yoink, take that pre-order out the door. So how is that going to affect the industry as a whole? Because now
not to cut you, Lord Kai, I got to ask Lord Alec a question because he pre-orders probably more than me. Now, when you pre-order, Lord Alec, I forget, do they Microsoft take the money right out the jump, or is it on until it's actually released and then you get charged?
It's like 7 to 10 days before it gets released.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to clarify. Go ahead, look.
Yeah, you can pre-order like 3 months out, but you just have to make sure that within like 2 weeks of release date, you have the money in the account because that's when it's going to get pulled.
I just want to say one thing. I understand, Lady Bella's concerns and stuff, but I think this is a good thing. On one, like I've always said on Steam, you can ask, Lord Kid, you can ask a lot of people or Anchorman. I think it's ridiculous how someone on Steam can go a good amount of time and pick up a game on a Steam sale and then just get a refund without even playing it. Because there's a lot of people that do that. I think if you buy a game, you shouldn't be entitled to a refund and only play 2 hours. Like there's a lot of scenarios to where that would be on the bad end of the spectrum. But I think there's games like Battlefield 4, games like Unity, anything Ubisoft makes.
Anything Ubisoft.
I feel like
you're savage.
I feel like games like that is the reason that we need this kind of platform. It's pretty much like if you make a game that's broken. Like I think I don't think that you should get a refund just because you don't like the game. It's like Lady Bella said. Like you shouldn't get rewarded just because you made a bad purchase. It doesn't. This is the only industry it happens. But at the end of the day, they're trying to make digital media more of a thing because I do think that they're seeing a lot more of a revenue increase because of it. In order to do that, you got to give some people an outlet to get their money back if it is. But I think it should only be your game is complete broken. Like, the Master Chief Collection, Unity, Battlefield 4, as much as I hate to say it, a lot of Ubisoft multiplayer be straight up trash people give the excuse, well, you can't really anticipate the kind of server traffic that they get. I'm like, okay, I understand that maybe 1 or 2 games, but every Ubisoft game has server issues. So
good,
I think games like that should really get a bad backlash. They should have a lot of refunds. And as much as Lady Bella ain't gonna like this, there's a lot of people that went into the Master Chief Drama to a completely different scenario. So if they didn't want that game after they tried it, they're entitled to a refund.
Now I want to jump in because Lord Ruler is lit in the chat right now. He is saying he can't. He's making some good points because he's saying you can't go to GameStop with an open game and a receipt asking for a full refund. So why should a digital game be allowed that?
You can't even walk out the front door and walk straight back in.
No,
and ask for a full refund.
Because that is
let
true.
alone come back in with an open game.
No, Lady Bella, you're right. Like you open that game as soon as the plastic's off.
Even if you don't open it, the second you walk out of that store, it's now secondhand.
I get that, but GameStop's different. It's retail copies. So obviously, the moment you open anything in any kind of industry that's new, it becomes used. That's not the same case with digital games.
Okay.
Yeah. I think
we got to get your opinions on this.
I think one of the things that Lady Bella spoke on was about people catering. Oh, well, let's talk about this first about returning games and the fact you can't do it digitally. Honestly, I think I can see this policy sort of evolving into something that turns more into a game trade-in, or you being able to trade a game with another gamer. If we look back at when the Xbox One was originally announced, and people flipped their lids about the DRM and the not trading in of used games and stuff like that. one of the things that was on the table was the potential for being able to trade your digital copy of a game to another gamer, and in turn, something that was discussed was the possibility of, in fact, being able to trade those digital games back in for whatever amount of money. But you give the license back to Microsoft, and they give you whatever Microsoft points or payment, whatever. I think if this doesn't necessarily fly as is in terms of a pure refund, something in the vein of a trade-in policy, which you haven't seen in terms of digital games ever, would be something that I think a lot of gamers would be into, because at least at that point, you get to play the game. You know, and like any game, if you get tired of it, you beat it, you do everything you want to do in a game. And with a digital purchase, you're stuck with it for life. You're stuck with it. You can't do anything with it.
That is a good point, too.
If they have something.
Sorry, keep going. I thought you were finished, but you're not, so please keep going.
No, so that's what I think on that. In terms of what Lady Bella said about how developers would sort of cater their experience, the beginning of their game, to sort of be this exciting experience, so to make sure they don't get a refund. I think one thing that we didn't specifically discuss is, for Microsoft to even put out this sort of policy, you would think that they have something in place with developers that that kind of puts all the brunt of it and the onus of it on Microsoft. I don't see, and again, this is something that's
with
not
first party maybe, but not multi-plats, which is the majority of their.
But the multi-plat, I mean, I would think you put multi-plats in a very, and you put third party in a very sort of precarious situation when you say, you know what, this is a policy that we're undertaking, and you have to swallow that. Like if somebody pre-orders, Battlefield on Xbox Live and they decide to return it, you're not getting your cut. Your cut's coming back also. That's a touchy conversation to have with a third-party developer, when it was your decision to implement this sort of policy anyway. So
yeah, absolutely.
So it's something that Steam has never talked about as to how that's handled. And I would think that for them to even consider something like this and to say, hey, this is something that we're doing, it's an alpha now. Obviously, it's going to evolve. But for that, I would think they would have to take the sort of the brunt of that, and not put the third party developers sort of in harm's way in that regard, in terms of them getting paid.
Yeah, I see where you're heading with that. I think that there's two different sides to it. I think that this is almost Microsoft taking a tongue-in-cheek approach at it, and it's like, oh my god, everybody's going to be so excited about this, but they either buy it and not play it for 2 weeks, so they haven't played it, so what is it to us if we refund it? Or they've played it for less than 2 hours and they don't even know what it is they're asking for a refund on, because it's only 2 hours worth. So I feel like it's sort of a tongue-in-cheek approach to the entire subject matter, and it's just trying to win over the consumer base by playing, another one of these little games that corporations always play. The other thing that I think I would rather, instead of see a refund process in place, I would rather see a rental system in place where you can rent the game for up to 5 hours of gameplay for, like 50% of the purchase price or something like that. And if at the end of those, that amount of time you don't like it, then you don't have to continue to pay the other 50% of the purchase price. I mean, that's just me spitballing there, but you know what I mean?
You're absolutely right.
Pay a few hours, and if you don't like it, well, it's only cost you X amount of dollars to try it out and decide, you know what, this actually isn't for me. But if you do like it, then you just pay the remaining price, you get the full game, and you continue playing. I would much rather see a system like that in place, where gamers can make an educated decision about whether they want to invest full amount of money into the game and it doesn't come back on the developer or influence the future development.
I don't. I get that. I do.
Go ahead, Lord Eric.
I get that, there is a point where it's on the developer and it might hurt developers, But at the end of the day, I'm a consumer. I don't give two shits about the developing process. I don't give two shits about the marketing process. I'm tired of buying games like.
But you only get to be a consumer because of the development process.
I get that, but I'm tired of games coming out busted as hell, and we had no warning. And you know, you know, some of these developers get real shady, and they put these NDAs where you can't talk, anyone can't talk about them to the game the day they comes out. Like, you know, I get that this might have consequences on the gaming industry, but I'm looking at, you know, this might show companies that, yo, if you release a product that is broken and you know it's broken, because there's certain these games, Assassin's Creed Unity, like I said, there is no way Ubisoft knew that this game wasn't broken. Battlefield 4, there is no way DICE didn't know that game was broken. You know, No Man's Sky, they lied the entire time that game was out. The entire time, like, I get that it, you know, developers, it will hurt developers, and you know they might do some sleazy ways to market their games or develop their games.
We're going to be punishing everybody for a few bad apples. Is that how we treat society? Is that how we go about things as humanity?
I mean, you literally have developers out there lying the entire marketing term, their entire time. Anytime they pop up, they're lying about it. You have games that they're launching that are intentionally broken because they had to meet their deadlines. These stuff should not be happening. And I get
and my exact rebuttal to your argument is, you know, these companies that do this, you know, the publishers that are notorious for it. So if you go out knowing this and make a purchase in advance without doing proper research, does that not then come back on you? If you know,
if I go to Walmart and buy something and I take it home and it's broke, I'm allowed to take that back.
Why take it home broke if you know it's going to be broke, though? Why not wait until after release, check it out, get the feedback, watch some streams, get some you know, fan, whatever, just get the research.
Is it a lot to ask for a game to work when I purchase it? I mean, I'm curious about this.
It is a fair expectation.
I mean, you're
but what you're arguing
this is great.
is that because of whether you should or should not expect
it.
What you're arguing is that because you have that expectation, you are right, and therefore everything should be the way that you're saying it is, and the developers should release everything not broken, and that you have a right to look. Perfect world, that would be brilliant. I love your perfect world, roses and
it's not a perfect world to expect a game to work. When I try to slideshow, then clearly they did something wrong and they shouldn't be rewarded for it.
No, they shouldn't be rewarded for it. But if you know that shit's gonna be broke, why buy it? Then take it and break it and be like, well, I wasn't expecting that.
You don't blame someone for picking up a purchase. You blame the person that sold it to you.
Yeah, I think we need to be
this
clear.
Is so good.
We're saying developers. We're saying developers, and what we mean is publishers. Because when it comes to games coming out broken, I would bet that no developer who sits there and sweats over a game for years on end wants to release a product that's broken.
Oh yeah,
I
completely agree.
Let me jump in too. To Lord, that's off. I'm gonna say to add Lord Adam's point though. You know, this is a tough one because I am literally torn. I get what Lady Bell is saying, but I also get what Lord Adam's saying, because there's situations where during the development cycle, these developers know when that game hits the street date that some things are not entirely in place, right?
I mean, look at the Master Chief Collection. Do not tell me Microsoft didn't know that shit was busted.
I look at games like that, and I say to myself, like, you know damn well that game was not in a working order on release, but you're pushing it out because you got to hit the deadline, whether it be from the publisher, from publisher pressure. So it's tough, you know, and part of me is saying, well, maybe this is a good way as a deterrent to these, you know, games that, let's be honest, in this generation, we've probably received games that had more day one patches than I can remember as a gamer. Like, I can just think of, so I can name games off the top where as soon as you got it, it's like a 5-10 gig kind of day one patch that's necessary. But at the same time, I do see Bella's point also, which is, okay, we can't punish everyone, you know? And the other thing that I also want to consider too, and shout out to Lord Ruler who's in the chat, he's lit right now. But as far as like, I'm thinking of like achievement hunters, you know, as far as the 2-hour window thing.
Oh, they're going to exploit that shit out of that.
Oh, they're going to jump all over that. Like, I can see people picking up games with those easy achievements. You know what I'm saying? What's that chariot game that's out there? Lord Anchorman knows. It's some cheap chariot game.
Look what Dizzy said in the comments section.
The chariot game, that's the what the heck was it? That's farther.
Shout out to Lord Dizzy. Yeah, no, I mean it's a catch-22 because like I said, we don't want to punish everyone, but it is a good deterrent to stop theft. I mean, from making bad
Regardless,
games.
if we can't punish anyone, it's a problem that needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
And I
the cool
agree
thing
with you
about
on that much.
the cool thing about
And
this
there's not a
is
lot that
it's
you
an
can fix it. There's just not a lot of ways you can fix that, unless these developers knew that when they launched a product and it was busted. So there's going to be people that take advantage of it. Obviously, you have your achievement hunters. I'm sure Lord Kid's going to love this policy, but you have people that will take mad advantage of it for. Someone in the comment section says that if you return the game before 2 hours, no achievements. I think that's too much. That's too much work for the developer. For people to really. I think there would be programming. I guess you could hold the achievements before the 2 hours.
How do we feel about that? How does the round table feel about achievement wiping once
wiping or holding them? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I can understand that. Holding the achievements before the 2 hours is up. See, I'm not really talking about the achievement hunters. I'm not talking about anything like that. Like, there's going to be people that exploit this. I'm talking about people, my number one thing that this would definitely 100% help is developers releasing broken games that they know is broken. It's different if a game launches that's having server issues, because that's something they can't exploit. But it's not little developers either. It's big developers launching games that they know are completely busted. And I can't take that. You knew this stuff. It's like Dizzy said, that there's developers out there that launch games that are busted that they ain't normally launch. Not every developer that they're not guaranteed to launch a game, even if they ain't never launched a game that was busted the way it was. Everyone thought Mass Effect was going to be 9 out of 10s, and it just turned out it wasn't. So there is a lot of extreme circumstances that I just can't get down on blaming the consumer. I can't. You shouldn't be held liable to picking up a game that you thought was working, and you put it in and you play it and it's just not working. There's no world that I see that blaming the consumer is a good thing. I'm sorry.
I wasn't blaming the consumer. All I was
you
saying is
that the
you were
saying if you picked up that game and you knew it was busted, you deserved it.
Get
know exactly what I said, because I was here when I said it. I wasn't blaming the consumer. What I'm saying is that as a consumer, we have our responsibility to vote with our own wallets. If we have not gone ahead and made any kind of attempt to do any sort of research on something that we're about to purchase and expect for it to be fantastic and then be utterly disappointed if it's not, because we didn't even bother to do any research, and knowing the fact that if we're the kind of people who are pre-ordering online, we're not the casual gamer that just walks into EB games. We're the type of gamer who knows what's going on. We know the issues that you can expect from some EA Sports games. We know that the Ubisoft servers are going to be down on midnight at launch. You know these things, right? So why do people still know these things and then still blame them? Yes, they deserve the blame for releasing a broken game, but that doesn't make your purchase their fault when you go in making that purchase knowing full well what you're potentially about to get, when all you have to do, particularly if we're looking at 2 hours of a return time after playing a game, is wait 2 hours after launch. And hear what 2 hours worth of people's playing it. Think about it before going and purchasing it.
Yeah, don't pre-order games.
Don't pre-order games.
Now, Lady Bella,
Lady
Bella, I just want to throw something in there. I want to throw something in there. Dizzy's making a good point in the chat in reference to your point as far as pre-research, because he was saying that sometimes pre-research doesn't prove a broken game at release. So I wanted to get your feedback in reference to his comment in reference to that.
Absolutely. It certainly doesn't prove that the game's going to be broken, but what it will do is give you a much better idea about the gameplay style, the mechanics of the game, the combat, all these type of things. So then that sort of piques your interest to go, you know what, yes, this is something I'm really interested in.
I got
or no, it's not. And then you wait the day of launch to see what problems people are having with it. Or you read the reviews that have come out.
I do got a scenario. All right. Someone did bring it up. Okay. Typically, you would look at reviewers to tell you if there's any kind of flaw in the game, any kind of
Get out there,
they don't like. So, there's
repeat what you said. You kind of cut out.
I said there's certain times where these these reviewers don't go over the technical bad issues that these games are having, and it's like I said, with certain cases, you know, they try to stay, you know, in good terms with the company that they're reviewing, so they don't get blacklisted. That they don't even talk about some of the bad issues these games have. Like doing research isn't 100% way, and I don't even think that you should have to do research. If the game is busted, they should be penalized. Like I get that, you know, as gamers, we should be, you know, I'm very well versed in what happens. And 9 times out of 10, I don't pick up games because I don't want to play it. And, you know, I pick up games months in advance before the game comes out for financial research. So I shouldn't have to be constantly, you know, when I pick up a game 2 months before it comes out because that, you know, I have some free money on this paycheck. I should have to, well, I hope this game isn't busted. That game should come out, and it shouldn't happen as often as it does.
But we know that this is you're right. It shouldn't happen as often as it does.
But just
because it shouldn't happen as often as it does doesn't mean that it doesn't happen.
This kind of policy will put those games.
I love that you just yell over the top of me. It's great.
Let him finish. Addict, you gotta let Bells finish.
Into this, so why does it have to be one or the other? Because the thing is, on one side, you have that, like, if you don't like a game within 2 hours, you could return it. But also, like I said, like Lord Addict said, that if you buy a game, it has a bunch of bugs and you want to return it because you deserve your money back. But why does it have to be one or the other? Because honestly, like, think about EA Access. EA Access, without putting any money down, they let you have 7 hours to test the game, and then after that they shut off your access. You don't get any achievements from those 7 days. So maybe instead the better way would be to kind of implement a trial like that, because that way people can try the game, or if they have any bugs or anything like that, they haven't put any money down. They don't have to worry about it, and then do the refunds with people who actually need it.
Look, all right, let me ask you. Now, you're talking about in reference, because based on what you're saying, kind of like what Xbox Live used to do, arcade, where it would be like that trial kind of thing, and then
exactly.
Then after a certain amount of hours, whatever, then if you wanted the full game, you'd pay remaining price kind of deal. Is that kind of what you're referencing? A little bit of that?
Well, yeah, although in terms of EA Access gives you 7 hours with the game. After those 7 hours, they cut off your access to the game. But you haven't put any money down, so you're good with that. So the thing is, if you notice the bugs within those 7 hours, or if you don't like the game within the 7 hours, basically you haven't put any money down, you don't have to worry about that. And then you can save the refunds for when there's actual issues after you purchase it. Thing is, it'll make people more hesitant to do pre-orders, but at the same time, it would appease both crowds. Yeah. And I think it kind of goes to, even though what they're talking about, the refunds is good, I still think that it's a rough sketch, and it's kind of like it's something that needs to be worked on until that they can appease all audiences. And well, probably not just with this one policy, probably a combination of policies so they can hit everybody.
And let's be clear. I mean, first of all, Lord Addict, I mean, this is just fantastic discussion. Like, this is amazing. We love each other.
Can we have a cuddle and just like
everyone needs to hug because it's loving it. But let's just be clear. This is in alpha, right? So Microsoft gets the chance to look at these exploits, look at this thing from all angles, see what gamers are doing, see if they're taking advantage of certain things, and hopefully we can get to that happy ground, whether with the time as well as the length, as well as the achievements and price. You know, I'm actually, you guys have actually maybe especially the chat, maybe rethink the achievement wiping, because I know that's something I've been thinking about. Like, I know people that's all they do is achievement hunt, and they look at their friends list and they look at all the easy games they can pick up, and this will reward those guys. Like, you know, shout out to BK Best Eye in the chat who mentioned Ben Hur, that stupid chariot game, and I remember it. You got
they would be playing for free and getting non-stop achievements for the rest of their life. So let's not think that Microsoft is that ignorant to the fact that could be an ability. I'm sure there's going to be something that will be put into place to stop that from being a thing. But yeah, that is an initial concern, that people would actually be exploiting that and not treating it for what it is, and actually being quite ignorant to what the game is that they're playing, and not doing a little bit of research. So that first 2 hours doesn't make sense to them. And they actually end up robbing themselves of an amazing experience. And then they also pass that feedback on to other people who may potentially may not purchase that game, and also rob themselves of that, you know, amazing experience as well. I can see pros, I can see cons. I don't think that blaming the developers and saying that they can't, that they should have to just not release stuff broken is going to fly, because yes, they should release stuff that isn't broken, but a lot of them are pushed into positions by publishers where they just don't have the ability to do that. Along with the fact that there's only so much testing you can do. There's only so much stuff you can do behind the scenes. Once it goes out into the wild, you hope you've covered everything. You hope that everything is going to run smoothly and that the servers are, the stress testing is going to support everything. And you pray and you sit back, and sometimes shit just goes wrong, and you've done everything you can to avoid it.
Mm-hmm. No, I feel your point, Lady Bella. Those are some great points also as well. And also to Lord Addict's point, I want to shout him out as far as, just the sentiment from Microsoft. Because I do feel Lord Addict's point in reference to, I do feel this is a pro-consumer thing. And again, it's just a matter of tweaking it, getting that fine line, that balance. And hopefully we can work it out. But remember, it's an alpha, everybody. And we're going to figure this thing out. This is a great topic.
I think this continues to evolve, man. I mean, Microsoft, you look at everything they're doing with games as a service, that's Phil's whole MO moving forward, games as a service. If you look at Game Pass is going to evolve. Game Pass is probably going to get to a certain point where you'll be having newer and newer releases hit Game Pass a lot faster. And then all of this is going to evolve. I don't even see this policy staying as it is. And what Lord Kaiser said, kind of likening it a little bit to EA Access, something in that vein is something that I can see happening also. It's going to be interesting because this is the move. This is where they want to go, and they have to make sure that the policies are in place to support it, so that people don't feel like they're getting robbed. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
So it was hot and heavy. Everyone's got their water. We're all cooled off now.
I think we need to have a podcast sidecast. We just need to going at it on this subject.
Exactly. So let's move on.
Follow that. You suck.
I do agree with a lot what you're saying, though, Attic. I do need to say that too, because it does sound like I was just arguing with you for the sake of it. I do agree with a lot that you were saying. I just think that we are both headed to the same conclusion from very different directions.
Exactly. A lot of passion. So, Lady Bell, I know we went a little over with that point. So I want to actually change the order and get your topic up next, because I know you're in a little bit of time constraint. So we'll talk about marketing deals and what's going on with that. And you had some interesting points in reference to that. So the floor is yours. The round table is yours.
The irony is it kind of ties back into like the 20-minute debate we just had.
Yes, that's why I switched it.
So yeah, I think, are we as gamers tired of these marketing deals and the different behind the scenes games that these larger corporations are playing to try and beat each other to get those extra sales? Or, do we actually fit into that mentality ourselves by demanding so many details in advance about console development, the new IPs that are coming out, not voting with our wallet, just voting with our hype?
Mm-hmm. This is a good one.
When it comes to this subject, man, I'm definitely the problem. Destiny, yeah, I'm a huge fan of it. Clearly, Activision does some shady stuff with the game, but instead of saying, yeah, forget that game, I ain't buying it, I'm like, yo, I don't care, I'm buying it. So obviously they had a huge hit in the Xbox numbers. That was like, we're not buying it because of the shady practices you do. The next time that deal goes up, they're like, maybe we shouldn't do exclusive content because we're going to get hit real hard on one platform. But I mean, it still sells great on Xbox, sells great on PlayStation. They don't see the problems they're doing because the only way corporations really the only way they take the hint is if it's going to hurt their market share, or if the money isn't where it is, where they thought. I mean, look at Call of Duty. The last Call of Duty, they came out and they said, maybe we need to look at how we do stuff because they weren't satisfied with the sales for the last Call of Duty. It takes stuff like that. You vote with your wallet, and that's something with certain games I'm just not willing to do.
certain vices hold us hard, huh? I want to jump in on this if you're finished, Lord Addict. I don't know if you got everything off with that.
I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, this is a great point, Lady Bella. I was thinking about it, and from two perspectives. The first perspective, from a marketing deal perspective, I'm actually surprisingly pro marketing deal. I'm from the era where I believe exclusives do matter. I feel that you have to do things to promote people to your platform. And you know, as much as I'm a Destiny guy and much as I love it, and I hate the exclusive aspect, you know, I hate the length of exclusivity. That's my
I
issue
think
with
a
that.
year is ridiculous.
A year to me is just obsessive.
It's sometimes it's not even just a year; it's longer than a year. They'll wait before the year's up and be like, "Oh yeah, we extended it." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Like that, I don't condone that. But I'm not mad that Sony had the foresight to say, "Look, we think Destiny is going to be a big game, right? And you know, we want to invest in it and have exclusives for our platform." The same way, you know, let's be honest, Microsoft had the Call of Duty deal, you know, as far as marketing for a long time. They chose to let that go. They chose not to re-up, and we can't get mad, you know, if Sony, you know, grabs that up and takes that as well. So exclusive marketing deals, I don't have an issue with. As far as the you know, second point, I mean, I also feel like you need to vote with your wallet. If you are upset with the way things are, and I know, you know, there's a lot of Xbox guys that are very pissed off when they found out, you know, that the exclusive stuff is still continuing with Destiny for PlayStation, then it's up to you to say, you know what, I'm not purchasing this game, or I don't like these practices and stuff like that. And you know, as far as the fanboy stuff, you know, to me, this is a lot of stuff for people to just stick their chest out and say, you know, look at what we have and that kind of stuff, and that's fine. I do feel some of it does fuel it and that kind of stuff, but ultimately, back to my main point, vote with your wallet. If you don't agree with practices, don't partake in them. And as far as companies, you know, as far as, you know, marketing exclusive stuff, I actually want Microsoft to be a little bit aggressive. I know it's anti-Phil stance to do that, but I'm actually more of a Peter Moore kind of guy. And I remember, you know, in the 360 era, he was very aggressive with getting stuff, you know, the Halos and the Grand Theft Autos and things that to the Microsoft platform. So, you know, that's just what it is. It's a necessary, like, shout out to Lord Dizzy, they're making my point right now that it sucks, but it's a necessary evil as far as, you know, platform wars. But that's what I got.
You got to look from a perspective that some games wouldn't come out without these exclusive deals. Like Square Enix said that they weren't even really looking into making another Tomb Raider, but Microsoft offered to help pay for the development.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then when you look at when Rise of the Tomb Raider finally came to PlayStation, it was sort of DOA, and that's a really sad thing for that game. That game is in a lot of ways a superior game in my mind, anyway, to Uncharted 4. Obviously, Uncharted, you know, graphically and story wise, but in terms of gameplay and in terms of the full gameplay package, that game to me blows it out of the water. And just simply the fact that Microsoft had a hand in that game being made and having that 1 year exclusivity killed it on PlayStation platforms a year later. It was sad to see. So again, I'm in the camp that yes, they are a necessary evil, but it absolutely sucks because it has the potential to do this to great games. And in terms of us and how we feed into it, I have to say that, yeah, we're not ones to vote with our wallet in that regard. I've been gaming my entire life, and I'm going to play what I want to play. And even if they screwed me over the last time, man, or whatever, I'm going to, you know, because you have affinity for specific titles or specific genres or whatnot. And when something comes out in that vein, you're going to want to play it. I just feel that, you know, us being gamers and in this day and age where you have access to everything so quickly, you know, the fact that we demand information on what's coming, what's new in terms of games, in terms of consoles, I don't think that should sort of be the impetus for these the console manufacturers and these third-party developers and whatnot to sort of seek out these things, these third-party deals. I don't think it's necessary because the excitement is there already. I don't mind short-term third-party deals either. Let me put that on the table. I don't mind a few months, but when you have, you know, Destiny content a year out, that's really, really anti-consumer.
Yeah, there's a good chance that we won't see that content to 2019, 18, 20.
That's absolutely unfair. Yeah, that's something really that should not be happening. Yeah, and I think the onus is on the publisher to not. I mean, I understand they're trying to make money, but it's like what Alex said. Like you have the possibility of sort of absolutely disillusioning an entire console's worth of fans of that game when you're telling them they can't get a certain DLC or something for a year.
But you know, I'll give it to Bungie because they do try to help the Xbox community out when they can. I remember back with the beta for the original Destiny, we were supposed to get it on like a Friday, and they let us have it Thursday night because they said we got it cleared. We're opening it right now on Xbox. They didn't have to do that, and you know the way that they worded the tweet. You clearly they went out of their way to try to give it to the Xbox community because they had it for like a week before us. PlayStation did.
Mm-hmm.
Although truth be told, with Bungie, it always seems like when it comes to Bungie, is like that whenever Activision makes an exclusivity deal like this, and you ask Bungie, it's like you can see them roll their eyes while they're saying it. So it's kind of like they're like the inside man in regards to this. Yeah. I mean,
I think we're kind of walking a fine line on both sides there. We as gamers, as consumers, we want to know that the money that we're investing into a particular platform warrants the amount of money that we're investing into it, that there are enough upcoming IPs, that the game that we're playing, now that we know that marketing deals are a thing that are going to be around for a long time, actually are going to benefit us on that particular platform. Because we know full well that, you know, particularly with, say, Call of Duty, for example, that went into the whole Xbox or we riot thing when PlayStation took over the marketing rights, is that the servers were absolutely injected. I think the statistics came back that there were, I think it was about 33% more people online on the servers on PlayStation than on Xbox when Call of Duty Infinite Warfare launched. Or no, actually it was Advanced Warfare, not the recent one. Advanced Warfare launched, and along with Black Ops 3. And I think that, you know, as a gamer who happens to be on that platform that benefits from that marketing deal, yes, it is good for you because you get that content early, and it has a large influence on the ejection of people that are available on your server to be able to game with. But in the long run, what does it really matter whether somebody on another piece of plastic is still playing the same piece of DLC as what you are, or the same game as what you are? It doesn't matter. But then take yourself out of the shoes of the consumer, and the way that actually affects us coming back down the mountain again is from a business viewpoint, to be able to, like Alex said, there are some games that actually wouldn't be a thing, that we wouldn't be playing if these corporations didn't step in and put that money into it. If we didn't have certain marketing deals in place, then we wouldn't have competition between both platforms, or both of the leading platforms, to try and one-up them and constantly be raising the level of service that they're providing us, and continually evolving all of the different IPs and the variety of multi-plats that we have. So it's a catch-22, you know. And we're kind of damned if we do, damned if we don't, and we definitely feed into this. It wouldn't be a thing if we weren't also hungry for everything. Like we want it, and we want it now. Actually, no, I wanted it yesterday. And so that then puts corporations into a position where they see this in the market, and they're like, well, obviously, if we do this, we're going to have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people that are going to run out and fall over themselves to give us their money. So why would we not do that?
I hear you. Shout out Lord King in the chat saying he loves exclusive deals.
Lord Ling.
When it comes to exclusive deals, they don't really bother me a whole lot. I do get a little agitated when I see they extend it, because I feel like that that's a little shady. It's like, you know, if we have marketing deals, that's not a big deal. And it's like to this day, even on Destiny, like, you know, they extended the Taken King. Taken King came out in 2015. It's like we're going in 2017. We're in 2017. By the time it comes out, it's like 2 years before we seen that game. That's kind of pathetic. and you know, they the reason that they extended it too is because they knew Destiny 2 was coming out this year, and they wouldn't just have a timed exclusive content. They'd have only on PlayStation content, pretty much. So, you know, that's the only time I'm like, you know, that's really, really shady of them. But at the same time, it's like the content that's this long isn't even really a huge relevance. They got like one or two exclusives. My tone would be way different if like a raid was exclusive on PlayStation. Yeah, that's why they never went down that road, because I feel like they knew. I might vote with my wallet if they pulled some shit like that.
Yeah.
But I think us as gamers, like we're the ones who are in tune with that stuff. Like in terms of like if DLC is being held up for months or a year or whatever, we're the ones who pay attention to that. But when you look at like the average consumer, they're not seeing that sort of stuff. Though they're not kind of tuned into that sort of stuff. But like for instance, when you look at just today, like the Battlefront 2 trailer. At the end of the Battlefront 2 trailer, it says PlayStation, and
PlayStation.
there's no mention of anything else.
Right. No, it's a good point.
They're getting that marketing deal, you know?
Especially Sony.
Can I jump in?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, let me jump in on that. That's a great point, Lord Solomon, because that's where, to me, it really doesn't affect, the lords and ladies like us. Like, we're the hardcore. We know a game like Battlefront is going to be on both platforms. But when you look at the casual market, the people who watch the commercial, I know people who think, oh, Destiny was only on PlayStation, or oh, this game, because they saw the marketing in the commercial, that it's exclusive to that platform when it may not be. So in that case, the mind share is controlled a little bit with these marketing deals. And I can't knock Sony or knock these companies that do it, because they do it for these purposes. They want to make people think that this is the only place where you can get said game or content, when the reality is, if you look at the fine print or you do a little research, you're like, oh, okay, it's also on these platforms as well, that kind of bit.
Absolutely. And that affects general mind share. And as much as, us hardcore think that we're the loudest proponents of information and stuff when it comes to these consoles.
We're in the corner.
But when it comes to
we are the minority.
When it comes to purchasing, we definitely the minority. So that matters. It really does.
I have to say this. Dizzy said by first class, he don't mean on United Airlines.
Oh, Lord, United Airlines. Let's not touch that. Let's move on to the next topic. And I believe, Lord Solve, you had something going on with Microsoft first-party IPs and some stuff of that nature.
Yeah, definitely. So what I wanted to kind of bring to the lords and lady today was basically a lot of the criticism that Microsoft has been kind of enduring, and rightfully so, has been that they don't have, they revealed Scorpio. It's a super powerful machine. Where are the games? Games. Where are the games? There are no games. Albert Pinello has made a point to say, I hear you. They're coming. Trust me. So my question is, okay, they're coming. What's coming? What games do we want to see? Are there any particular dormant IP that Microsoft has that we definitely want to see? Is there anything kind of pie in the sky outside of the realm of what we know is feasible right now that maybe they could bring to the system? What genres would we like to see on the system that aren't necessarily represented that frequently? And also, at the end of the day, is it time to sort of retire that triple pillar of games that have been holding Microsoft up?
You mean Big Mac, large fries, and shake?
Halo, large fries,
Forza? Is that what we're talking about?
Halo, Gears. All right. Is it time? Not necessarily to retire them permanently, but put them on the shelf for a few years. Tell me, I wouldn't be opposed to hearing, you're not getting a Halo game for 5 years. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I wouldn't be opposed to it.
I can't agree with you on the Halo thing. I'm very interested in Halo 6.
So am I.
Like, I could go the rest of my life without another Gears game, but Halo.
So am I. But when you see the Halo multiplayer this time out was great. The best multiplayer they've had since 2. That said, no, that campaign left a lot.
I wasn't about that campaign.
And in general, I just think this has been the face of Microsoft for so long. Yeah. They need to invest the time, money, and effort into bringing up something else, whether it be something brand new or something that's in their stable that they've kind of left dormant for a long time. Something like, honestly, Perfect Dark is an IP that when you think about the potential for it and what they've done for it, it's sad. It's absolutely sad when you think about what it did on N64 and how it improved on the GoldenEye formula. And then to tout it as this great launch title for the Xbox 360. People were so excited to see that game come out, and then for the game to be what it was very disappointing. And again, Microsoft did what they usually do. It's like, oh well, you guys didn't like it, we'll put it away, and that's that. And that criticism of Microsoft is something that's very valid, because when you look at PlayStation and what they do with their IP, they, whether it be second party stuff, whether it be first party stuff, they nurture these IPs. They allow them to have missteps and still come back. And then what happens is that you create a following with that over generations of systems. And if you look at Microsoft's back catalog, if you look at the IP that they own, there's nothing in there there's very little there that you can look at and say, this is something as it stands now that could be a core tenet of a pillar of what Microsoft is moving forward. Nothing. So they either have to come up with something new or reimagine something old in such a way that makes it appealing to today's gamer.
I agree with you. They haven't, the original Xbox, Halo was their flagship. They brought that to the 360. They found Gears in the 360. They brought that to the Xbox One. We're 3 years into the Xbox One, and they still have not found their next flagship title.
They haven't.
No doubt. Look, Kai, I want to get your feedback on this. I'm very curious about your perspective on this.
Hey, sorry, just refresh me because I got caught up in the chat.
Yeah, you in there chatting it up. You ain't paying attention.
I have an idea, but refresh me on the chat.
No,
Sorry,
basically, Lord Sarge makes some great points as far as the formula, as far as the, Halo, Forza, Gears, Microsoft maybe being a little bit too reliant on that. He also made some points in reference to potentially them going away for a little while and maybe to invest into some, new IPs as flagships going forward. That's kind of where he's going with it. So
Microsoft needs new IPs. I mean, there's no getting around it. I mean, we've had another year. It's like me and Cognito always joke about that. It's the same Big Mac and fries. And the thing is, even this year, it has its issues where it doesn't even have the addictive nature for it. Halo, the story was kind of compared to previous stories.
What's you on that?
Gears, I'm particularly disappointed in for the simple fact that I think it's the best playing Gears out of all of them. I like the way that you can move around. You don't feel quite as stiff, but it seemed like that there was something missing. And I think the main thing that was missing about it and that actually made it feel good was kind of like the survival horror aspect. And I think because of that, also you've been saturated with it for year after year after year. Forza you can keep because honestly, Forza is a graphical powerhouse for the system. This shows that the system can do it.
Forza is still successful, right? It's still selling crazy.
Yeah, but do you want to see a Forza? You want to see a Forza? An alternating Forza, like 1 year yes, 1 year no. It's a lot.
No, I agree with you, Losarva. See, that's my thing. It's like, it's Forza is almost becoming their Call of Duty, so to speak. And don't get me wrong, I love Horizon. Like, I am a Horizon dude. Like, that is my thing. And I'm about, spacing it out. I'm with you. See, what I hate what games do is like they look at something that's working and then it's like, boom, every year we got to have a release. You know what I'm saying? That's what people get annoyed with Call of Duty. You know another Call of Duty is coming. Sometimes it's okay to let something be missed for a year or two. And I actually like when the development cycle is longer. So this way you get, more quality. In Halo's defense, Halo doesn't come out every year, right? It's usually like a 4 to 5, kind of thing. Forza is guilty of the every other year alternating cycle. Gears didn't come out, but again, I do agree with Lord Kaiser in the sense that, I haven't really touched it too much. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying the game is trash or anything like that. It's just that we need to see new things. And this goes back to my point. I've been beating this over the head, many ILP podcasts all the time. I get aggravated with Microsoft when they have stuff like Sunset Overdrive, when they have stuff like Ryse. It doesn't knock out the park the first year as far as sales, but then it's like, we don't hear from those titles ever again. I can't stand that. It drives me nuts. Like, why is the developer for Insomniac saying from Sunset Overdrive 2, well, it's up to Microsoft if it's going to come out or not? Like, that stuff, regardless to whether or not, and I'm not the biggest Sunset Overdrive guy, right? But I understand that that's a title that will bring in a different market. And if it wasn't a horrible first, release, right? So we can take the feedback from the community that said, okay, you can do this to improve it. Same thing with Ryse. You can do all these other things and then go back with a sequel, come back to the table. Like, they just too concerned with home runs. And I shout out to Lord King. I mentioned this before. Like, they want everything to sell Drake levels when it comes out. Or the first IP is like, it's not. Sometimes you got to build, and that's what Sony does well. To me, they have to do that. Otherwise, it's going to be an issue. Now, to Albert Pinello's point, what you're saying, I do think they're going to show some stuff. I know. A lot of people are concerned. It's games. You're talking all this Scorpio stuff. You're talking all this power stuff. Where the hell are the games? They are going to come. The key is they've got to knock it out the park, though. They've got to knock it out of the park. They've got to take the pressure off so people see that there's a huge lineup coming.
It has to be variety.
It has to be variety. It has to be diversity. They have to show some stuff. I mean, I'm counting on a game like I got my hopes up for State of Decay 2. You know what I'm saying? The chat is lit right now. But you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of games in there that I'm like really hoping. And I'm just hoping to see some surprises and some stuff that we don't know about. That's boom. But go ahead, y'all.
I gotta read this comment, man.
Go for it.
If they had Insomniac do Sunset 2, then Spider-Man wouldn't be ready to crack them in the head like Nick.
Shout out to BK Best Eye in the chat, lit right now. Lord King's lit too. But yeah, I mean that's where I'm at with it. But with the rest of the Lords, what you guys got?
Thing is, when it comes down to Microsoft, definitely needs to show any new IPs at E3. Only thing is that, and I think me and Lord Cognito discussed this with before. I'm not jumping on the bandwagon. It's like, oh, the Xbox, you're fucking up by not doing this now. Over. My whole thing is, instead, I'm gonna wait till E3 to see what game, what exclusives you have to blow me out the water. Plus,
with you on that.
Plus, also, I mean, I'm in the minority here, but I still have some exclusives that I'm still amped about. I can wait for as long as I need for Cuphead. I'm a big Phantom Dust head, and I can't wait to come out. Although I really wish that was. They made a brand new Phantom Dust game, but I'll take the Phantom Dust that's coming out.
All I know is anyone watching this podcast, if you want another Phantom Dust, go out and support that one.
Exactly.
Yeah, you gotta support them too. Shout out, Lord Sleep always says that too. You gotta support them. But yeah, this is a big show for Phil. We know that. I am of the mindset that it is not doom and gloom. I'm not gonna go that far. I'm not gonna say like, oh my God,
it's
that kind of
concerning.
thing. Yeah, I think what it is let's just keep it real.
It's a week, not doom and gloom. That's basically.
Yeah, let's just keep it 100. Like, we know that Sony's had an amazing first half. So as an Xbox fan, you're like, well, what do we got? You know what I'm saying? It's only natural to say that, right? Because you look at what's going on, but there's still things to be shown. I mean, we still got Crackdown. We got to see what Sea of Thieves is doing. If they announce a Fable, like shout out BK Best Star's killing it right now. Like Assassin's Creed, Splinter Cell. Like there's so much potential that they can show. Yeah, and get us right back on it, and then close the second half with Scorpio and in these games in tremendous fashion. So we shall see. Lady Bella, are you there?
I am.
What do you feel about all of this? About as far as Microsoft and the first party IPs and what they need to show, what they need to do? Is it doom and gloom?
That's okay. You don't need to recap. I'm like our friend here. I've been listening.
Just curious your perspective.
I'll go ahead and say something.
Sure, please.
Talk over Lady Bella again. Just talk right over her again.
I had the stream and refreshed on the other screen. I couldn't hear anything.
Okay. Well, Lady Bella was talking. We're going to get her opinion on this first, and then you can jump in right after.
So I think it's important for me to start by setting the temperature of where I have been as a gamer first, and very briefly before going into my opinion on this. So for many of the last several years, I've actually been primarily an Xbox gamer. It's only been over the last year and a half that I find myself gravitating more towards the PlayStation 4, purely because of the variety of exclusives that I have available to me there. I feel with Xbox, whilst I love Gears. I love Halo. I love Forza. I love Forza Horizon. You know, I love the staple that is the backbone basically of Xbox. Those games, those franchises, I do enjoy them, but I do kind of feel like when I weigh up Sony versus Microsoft into that regard, it is very limited. They seem to have fallen into just a cycle where they are expecting those to be their killer apps every year or every 2 years or so whenever they release, and they are relying on those to keep, you know, to like, well, why would you buy anything else? We've got Halo, we've got Gears, we've got Forza, you know, like these are some of the greatest games known to man. Well, yeah, if you like races and if you like shooters, then sure. But if you like a more well-rounded gaming experience outside of multi-plats, which, you know, multi-plats are fantastic. We're going to get them everywhere. That's why they're multi-plats, right? But if you want to have a more well-rounded experience, if you want to have the ability to be able to play some amazing JRPGs and some, you know, some very specialized fighting games like Blaze Blue, until recently Street Fighter, you know, what Sony is bringing to the table is a lot less restrictive and allows for anybody who likes any sort of game to really be able to delve into stuff that is only available on Sony. Unfortunately, the focus at Microsoft at the moment, and whilst I understand that they are keeping their cards close to them because we do have E3 around the corner, because they're doing that, their main focus at the moment is backwards compatibility. Now, don't get me wrong, backwards compatibility is a fantastic option. I like the idea of not having to have both my Xbox One and my 360 plugged in and to be able to play some of my favorite games from over the last few years on there. I didn't, however, buy a current generation console to play last generation games. I still have my 360 for that. So I really don't need the focus of my current generation console to be on the games that I was playing 3 or 4 years ago that I can still play on my 360. I do like back compat. It's fantastic. After I finish this podcast and I go and do a couple of other meetings, the first thing I'm going to do is turn my Xbox One on, load up Black Ops 2, hope that the servers on 360 are back up, and play zombies for the rest of the day. You know, I think that it is great that I have the ability to do that, but I could still do that on my 360. You know, I don't need that to be the current focus of my current generation console. I want my current generation console to be focusing on bringing me new experiences, to be bringing me groundbreaking graphics and you know, new UIs and all of that. And the issue that we have outside of all of that, though, is that at the moment, the community just doesn't really actually seem to be supporting all of these new exclusives that are coming out. Quantum Break suffered from it badly. You know, Tomb Raider suffered from it badly, as we spoke about before. There are so many games that have come out that are in themselves like really exciting, fun IPs that could have the opportunity to expand and develop as a staple of the Xbox franchise. But unfortunately, the community isn't supporting them. And that isn't necessarily the community's fault as well. It does come down to a lack of marketing that we see from Microsoft when it comes to certain things. I mean, they did smash it out of the park for Quantum Break. I'll give them that much. And it was everywhere. You couldn't turn on a TV without seeing the marketing. But that's one IP. And then the other issue that we have is that they do get their hands on some stellar IPs. For example, Titanfall, when it released as a Microsoft exclusive. They really should have fought to keep that a Microsoft exclusive, because that could have been a very important IP for them to help carry on and actually expand on what we expect when we look at exclusives from Microsoft. Now, having said that as well, I don't want to be restricted to being able to play just Titanfall on my Xbox, because I have a lot of friends at my PlayStation that I play with on the regular, and they play Titanfall too. So it's nice to be able to play with them as well. Just because you're a multi-console owner doesn't mean that you have multiple groups of people that play all the same games that you want on both of them. We tend to have set groups on set consoles that we play different games with. So that does make that really difficult as well.
Lady Bell, I just want to ask you I wanted to ask you one quick question in reference to Sovereign's point, though. As far as E3, what personally would get you excited from a Microsoft standpoint that they could show you and get you hyped about their IPs or anything from an exclusive nature? Is there anything particular that could show you?
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing that I can imagine that I want to see, and that is exactly what I want to see. Something I can't imagine, something I've never seen, something completely different. Show me a new world, show me a new protagonist, show me a new combat system, show me something that isn't the same regurgitated copy and paste from 6 different kind of franchises, put it in a pot and mix it up. Show me something new.
Nice.
You know,
Jump in.
I have to, I do think that, people like diversity with consoles, but for some reason, we gotta take a step back and realize that PlayStation is a world console more than an Xbox is, because Xbox is only really accepted in like 2 countries. The rest don't really get on that Xbox thing. PlayStation sells good everywhere. That's one of the main reasons it's really killing, the market the way it is. Because last year, the US was really on board with Xbox, and this year it's more last generation, and this generation it's more half. So it's been proven time and time again that the only kind of games that sell in America are shooters, unless you get random games like Fallout does good. It's a shooter. The Witcher actually, it's a very popular game in the United States. So it's like what Lady Bella said. They get Microsoft needs to focus if they don't want to go out and broaden their diversity. Make more different kind of games. I feel like what they need to do then is they need to strengthen the genres that they do well in, and they don't really do that either. Like like Lady Bella said about Titanfall, is like when they saw how famous that game was getting, they should have been on the phone with Respawn. Like that could have been their like eventually Halo replacer.
Yeah, exactly.
And even if they didn't want to replace Halo with it, they could have did like every 2 years you get a Titanfall, every 2 years you get a Halo. But it went multi-plat, so that's a good way. Tomb Raider, I don't think it was really Xbox's fault that Tomb Raider did what it did. They literally chose the worst day they could have ever released that game, like ever.
Yeah,
the same day Halo 4 came, the same day Fallout 4 came out. Which regardless how I feel about that game, it was still an iconic. People have been waiting for that game for like a decade. So when that game came out, anything that was out, it's pretty much like a giant. It's like the Empire State Building looking at my house. Like it was not going to sell on that day, and that's on Microsoft and Square Enix. That's on them for releasing it that day. So, Quantum Break, I always said that game was trash. So, I mean,
Quantum Break, I liked watching the episodes more than actually playing the game.
Like, it's not even that. It's just like the concept of the game I didn't like, But, I kind of thought that game actually looks like an Xbox game. So, I thought that game might have actually do well, but, I heard they spent a lot of money on those cutscenes. So that probably really hurt them trying to make a profit from it.
Well, Remedy said they're making their next one. It's going to be multi-plat. So it's going to PS4.
I mean, Remedy's never been they're not a first-party exclusive. It's the same thing with Insomniac. Insomniac's making a game for Xbox, for PlayStation.
Not to cut you, Lodak, I just want to shout out to Lady Bella. I know she has to go, so I want to give her a proper send-off. She's been staying a little long for us, so we have Real Games Media's own in the house, and she blessed us with her presence, with her passionate discussions. As always, one of my favorite guests, Lady Bella. It's always been a pleasure to have you. And I know you must run, so I want to give you a proper send-off.
Yes, thank you, my lord. It's always a pleasure being here. I always appreciate having these kind of open and candid conversations with you all. I particularly enjoy the back and forth arguing that Attic and I always get in.
I had my popcorn ready.
Yeah, I love his opinions on stuff, and it kind of fires me up as well, because we both share so much passion for the games industry, and it's nice to be able to go head to head with someone that isn't that won't back down on me, that will keep coming at me. I love that. Too many
I knew he was going to go. I was like, I was just thinking to go.
I can't say anything because she's a female. No, come on, let's have this conversation. Sorry. So I do love it.
That was gold, Lady Bella. Thank you so much. And again, it was a pleasure. Always a
Have a nice day.
Absolutely.
Have a good one, Bella.
Thank you very
yeah,
much, Lords, and for everybody who's joined and everything. Thank you very much for doing that, and I will catch you all next time. Mwah. Bye.
Love you. Peace. And we're going to move on, unless anyone had anything else on that. I was going to get Lord Kaiser up with the great, amazing Persona 5 game of the year. This man has his chest out. He was telling us. He said this game
I'm
is
pretty much
the
on crack
way.
heaven right now. So
And the reviews have been spectacular, but there's also been some controversy. So, Lord Kaiser, tell us what's going on in these Persona 5 streets.
Thing is, with Persona 5, like I could say everything. It's an outstanding game that actually has a mature tone for RPGs, which is the main reason why I like it. Because thing is, with Final Fantasy, and I know the Lord Addict is probably going to go on to me, and also Lord SWAT is. SWAT is going to go on about it, but I like games that actually make you think, games that actually do mature tones, games that actually apply to like what you're going through. Thing I mainly like about the game is that you're in a city. Fucking dizzy. No,
Focus on your topic.
Thing is also, I can say you how good it is, but I think the main issue that I really wanted to bring up today was the Japanese censorship of the streams. And I'm ridiculously annoyed with Atlas for doing this, more so Atlas Japan, because the thing is, the game before, Persona 4 was an outstanding game, but the only thing is it came out toward the ass end of the PlayStation 3. I mean, the PlayStation 2. And the thing is, not really a lot of people got to play it. So the thing is, nobody knew what it was going on. And I've seen it back then. I saw it, but I just wasn't really that into it. Until then, I started to be able to see streams of people playing it. And that's how I got to learn about it. Shout out to, like, back in the day, Giant Bomb's crew, Jeff Gerstmann and Vinny Caravella. They did their own set of Let's Plays that they called the Endurance Run. And they did an endurance run on Persona 4, which, like, it blew up like wildfire because you got to see like, everything that was going on with the game, and they had their jokes. Because especially Persona is a game about hanging out with your friends, kicking it to girls, and when you actually see that in the stream and you see people talking about it, it just feels better. When you see people. Sorry about this. I wish I could.
You all right? You all right?
Nah, it's just trying to gather my thoughts about it.
Persona-gasm, man.
This is why I wish I would have gone earlier, but
no, it's cool. It's cool.
My whole issue here's the whole thing. My whole issue with it is because Japanese, they have a different culture. They're not into streaming as much as the U.S. is. But the thing is, while streaming in the U.S. is important, it allows people to get more visuals into the game. They're able to see it, and it gets more exposure, so to speak. And because Atlas, the only thing that they see, Atlas Japan is seeing, is like, okay, so what you're gonna do is like, okay, these people they're streaming your game on the web, on YouTube, and they're talking about it. They're talking about it. It says, okay, so they're just seeing it, but they haven't bought the game. No, they haven't bought the game. Take it down.
Right.
And as you can see from different,
perspectives.
Yeah, as you can see.
So pretty much, let me just jump in real quick. So pretty much, what's going on right now? Just help me with this, Lokai, is that they're not allowing to get like you to a certain point. Is there like they're shutting off the stream access? Like to a certain stage in the game, and you're not allowed to watch it anymore. What are they specifically banning? That's what I need to know. Here's
the thing that's the main issues. Streaming for PlayStation 4 is totally turned off. You can't send screenshots. You can't send video. And it feels especially disgusting when you get an achievement in the game. When you get an achievement in PlayStation 4, they'll actually take a screenshot with it. So the thing is, you'll get an achievement in Persona, and then you'll get that notice that says it said the screenshot stopped because this is a blocked area.
Right. So pretty much it's almost the equivalent of like, I know when I get an EA Access game and I had Mass Effect Andromeda, I was trying to DVR stuff and screenshot stuff. It just wasn't going down. So pretty much it's a self-imposed block that they're not even allowing on the game. Now, this is the entirety of the game, or when you get to a certain point, like you just can't still do it. You still can't screenshot. You still can't do that stuff now.
Pretty much it's only like the first 15 minutes of the game. After the first 15 minutes, like when you hit like the very first cutscene aside from the title screen, then it goes. It's like this is blocked off.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then when you even look at the actual notice that Atlas put up on the website, they're saying, "Oh yeah, we enjoy that you be able to do this, but if you want, you don't stream after this date." And the date that they put is extremely early in the game. Like I don't even think it's like past the first boss.
Wow.
Past the first game, or if you do, or whatever you do, don't do the cinemas, or whatever you do, don't do this, don't do that. Basically, is very heavy-handed to the point where it's like, why bother doing a video about it?
Yeah,
I think this is.
Where you at with this?
This is really short-sighted on Atlas's part. I mean, again, like Lord Kaiser said, like a lot of people didn't play Persona 4 when it initially came out on the PS2 because it was towards the tail end of the system's life and not too many people were paying attention to it. Everybody moved on to PS3 and Xbox 360. So then when they get the re-release on Vita, that's where it sort of it comes back into the consciousness of people, and a lot of people, and due to the fact that we haven't had any big JRPGs, the fact that this one came back and the best version of it was on the Vita, it got people talking about and really excited about this type of game again. And I think it's, like I said, Atlas just, they kind of don't see that. I think this was their opportunity with this game to really make a dent in the mindshare of this game in the West, because you have your people that know about Persona, that love Persona, but it's certainly not something that you would consider mainstream. And this was their opportunity to get the game into the hands of people who can get on YouTube, show the game off, and really exploit that and be able to kind of get the message out to more people than would normally get to see it. So I just don't understand the thinking behind it. And also due to the fact, like I understand if it was a worldwide release, everything happening at the same time, the game has been out for 6 months in Japan. Like if you want to,
that's a good point. I forgot about that.
Basically, there's a really heavy-handed censorship. Like one of the good things about the Persona series is the music. I mean, the music is good enough that they're selling soundtracks and also they're having concerts in Japan. Thing is, you could even you try to go on YouTube to look for a song. It'll last probably about a day or so before Alice did the takedown. And especially when the game first came out in Japan, as they would actively block that. It's not even gameplay, just a song. As soon as it gets up there, Atlas takedowns. And the thing that's hurting it even more is that Atlas is taking down not popular channels, like channels with probably like 2 or 3 viewers, and they're hitting them with copyright strikes. I mean, I'm not that knowledgeable into it, but I can tell that leaves a lasting effect. Like Addict?
Where I do YouTube, I've been talking to some YouTubers about it, and this isn't one of those, NDA things. This isn't one of those you get caught, they'll put a copyright up and you have a certain amount of time to take it down, or they take the copyright down. They came out openly, said, "Yo, we warned you. If you get caught if you get caught streaming this game, we'll tell you not to. There won't be no taking the copyright down. You will be hit with that, and you'll have to wait 6 months for the repercussions to go away."
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Lord Sav on this. I mean, it's one of those things that is just a missed opportunity. I mean, you want to promote this game as much as possible, for a title that is not hugely regarded as mainstream. And yes, I understand it sold a lot. Not saying that.
But those are hardcore gamers. Those are hardcore gamers,
right? And there's a lot. Put it this way: there's a ton oh, I don't want to call them the dude bro game, but there's a ton of gamers that don't really know what Persona is. They don't know what it means, what it's about. So these streams, like, you know, Lord Kaiser was saying, like, this is what gets you to know about it. Like, so to do this severe lock and all this censorship, to me, it makes no sense. It's like a complete opportunity missed. I don't understand the logic behind it. You know, the only thing, I'm trying to play devil's advocate from one standpoint and saying, because from my understanding, like, these Persona games,
They're very
I've
story
only played
heavy.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very story heavy. So the only thing I can think of, if I'm being Atlas and I'm trying to defend this decision, is that in their mind the story is so great. So, you know, we don't want everyone to know what our big payoff or our big twist ending is. And I get that, but you can't lock that out of a stream. Like, to me, that it is what it is.
Especially since the game has already been out for a year.
Yeah, it's not like nobody can't go get the Japanese, you know, and see what happened in chapter 5, and you know what I mean. Like, even though it's gonna say nish 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 with the with as far as the, you know, the language or whatever, the actual, you know, subtitles or whatever, but that's the nature of it. You can't stop it. So I just didn't understand where they were going with that. But go ahead, Lasso, if you want to jump in.
Yeah, and what it does is creates a situation now where these people are like, all right, you don't want us to stream, screw you. So now you have to be afraid of opening a Twitter feed and finding somebody like throwing in some spoilers there. You have to be afraid of going to a message board and somebody maliciously putting spoilers in an innocuous message somewhere. Now you got to worry about stuff like that. So whereas before, if you wanted to avoid the spoilers, it was pretty easy to avoid spoilers. Now you can't.
Right.
Oh, by the way, it's actually been pretty funny with the community in regards to that. Like, one thing is that you've seen people post up streams like, oh, it said please don't ban me, Atlas, or it said fuck Atlas. There was actually a stream that said just fuck Atlas. I'm doing what I want.
And now,
and then you actually have people actually on the Atlas Japan website as well doing spoilers in there. Thing is, you're not doing the community any favors being antagonistic like that. And like I said before, Persona 4 was the game that kind of got into the public eye. It wouldn't have gotten into the public eye unless if it was for those streams. And the thing is, that's something that Japan needs to learn. And one of the things I've been doing, kind of over the topic, sorry, the beginning was kind of sucky, but thing is, Japan tends to be very strict in regards to any of their games. Like, I don't know if you guys remember this game back in the day, the Dragon Quest Heroes.
Yes.
I was doing a little research on that, and shout out to Patrick Klippick. He used to be a writer for Kotaku, and now he's a writer for Vice Gaming. I read one of his articles, and he was talking about that with the Dragon Quest Heroes, that you couldn't stream the music. It's like, oh yes, you can play the game, but it has to be silent because the music is licensed.
Well, if the music is licensed, that's another issue. I mean, that's an issue that YouTubers have now. Like, you can't, if you put in licensed music.
No, but I'm not talking about licensed songwriter music. I'm talking about the game. Like, basically, they think that their score in the game is so hot and that they might sell it as an album later. So the thing is, you can't use it in your stream on the game.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
and also,
when you look at the games, that's happening to, because shout out to the guys in the chat talking about specific other games that this doesn't happen to, like Metal Gear Solid, Resident Evil, and Evil Within, and stuff like that, Final Fantasy. The thing is, those are all IP that do well in the States and have always done well in the States. These are IP that are popular over here. So for whatever reason, there's certain IP that's, I dare say, very Japanese. The core of that player base is in Japan, and the popularity for that is mostly in Japan, and hasn't made that crossover. That those seem like the type of IPs that they sort of protect with those sort of restrictions, because it doesn't happen to the games that are very sort of Americanized and are popular amongst the American game players. So you know, it's something. It says something to what games they consider to be kind of very close to the chest and they sort of more protective over than others.
When it comes to the copyrights that they do, Japan is much more stricter about copyrights than they are over here. You know that they actually have like a group that focuses on like doing copyright shots and all that. It's called the abbreviation for it is JSRAC, JASRAC. And thing is, what it stands for is Japanese Society for Rights of Authors. And this is a conglomerate of all the Japanese companies that are going over there. Like you got Sony Music Japan in there, Universal Japan.
You know, Nintendo's in that.
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
No, they down with that.
And right now, as of currently, they've actually taken a lot of issues because they're even forcing like people like, oh, if you sing this song in school, you need to pay a copyright fee.
Chill. You talking about you can't sing the song?
You can't. If you sing the song in school, you gotta. If you sing school, you gotta pay them. And
yo, that's wild. That's crazy.
I gotta give a shout out to Addict on this. Addict likes Kingdom Hearts, and one of the popular, one of like the biggest pop stars that they have in Japan, Utada Hikaru. She also sings the intro to all the Kingdom Hearts games. She actually did a tweet against them. It's like he said, "I don't care. They can sing my stuff in the school, and I'm not gonna charge them. This is stupid."
So they trying to get the money for singing in her joint. Wow, that's crazy. I didn't even know about none of this.
Thing is, when it comes down to it, it seems like that they're really doing a lot of copyright like basically copyright trolling. Like you remember what was it a couple of years ago that they had the dude who tried to trademark Edge and and then he was suing everybody.
Yeah. Well, you have Sony's try to trademark Let's Play like 6 times.
yeah, that's true. Yep, they try to do that too. Damn,
Imagine what would have happened if they trademarked Let's Play. Like they would be flagging everyone with Let's Play in their name. That's like 88% of the Let's Play community.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to think. Guess off.
You see the uproar people have got into with a CD Projekt for trademarking Cyberpunk, and they had to come out and say, listen, man, we're just trademarking it just so that we ensure that we can use it, but we're not going to do anything evil, and we're not going to be flagging anybody down. We just want to make sure that we can use it in the capacity that we want. They had to legally do that, and they had to come out and really kind of calm the masses down because people started flipping out.
Yeah, so, the main reason they did it was because that they want to be able to use it.
Right.
That's crazy.
We'll let anyone else use it. We just want to be able to use it too. That's why they did the trademark.
Yeah.
I think the funniest thing, this whole process thinking of the US equivalent, right? So I'm like, let's just say, Drake made a song for a video game. And you're telling me, like, in school, the kids are singing the song, you know what I'm saying? And they like, nah, you can't do that. You can't. We could sue you. Like, that is crazy to me. Like, I understand it's different culture and Japanese is strict. I get it. I'm just trying to think how that would.
Oh, you want to see something funny? And also, I was going to bring this up to
wild to me.
I was going to bring this one up to Addict because, like, Final Fantasy 14, this is the online one. And also, they're pretty, like, lenient in regards to it. But one of the funniest things I saw with their streaming restrictions is that it said that you could play the game, but the thing is you have to use the soundtrack in the game. We don't want you remixing it with third-party music. So the thing is, so you can't have a video of Final Fantasy 14 while Drake is going on in the background.
Chill, I can't let that.
And this is actually written on the thing. I'm like, are you fucking serious?
Oh, well, I think a lot of that has to do is if you get copyrighted, if you do Twitch or YouTube or anything like that, they get notified about that too. They got to deal with that too. So a lot of companies actually don't like third-party music going on during your streams. It's just most of them don't care.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm glad we got to the bottom of that Persona 5.
I mean, when it comes to the Persona 5 thing, it's the Japanese culture. Like, they've been doing this for years. It doesn't really surprise me.
No,
I mean, if
but
it's
not restricting stream like this. I've never seen that.
Nintendo does it all the time.
No, Nintendo I know, but I've never seen this with a game saying you could only stream to a certain point and then we shutting you down. We coming through.
No, the thing is because
I've never seen that.
It's because Persona has been so popular. Like I said before, Dragon Quest Heroes went through something similar than that. There's like you can only stream this, but you can't stream that.
Okay, like, so there is precedent, is what you're saying. So they have done that before with another game.
They're present. From what I've researched, they've actually done this with a lot of predominantly Japanese games. The thing is, I think with Final Fantasy, does it game by game. Some of them is stupid. But the thing is, I think because they combine with Square Enix, and Square Enix has a decent presence in the US, so they can kind of curb it. I think the main thing with Atlas is predominantly Japanese. Right. So the thing is, you really got one point of view. I don't think that there's anyone coming out here and saying, like, yo, this is America. Streaming is what's going to get this game sold. They're not telling these Japanese execs. So you're giving these Japanese execs free reign to like, it says they're not paying for it. Cut it off. Take it out. We don't want it. They need to pay us.
So pretty much this is a Grandpa Nintendo equivalent of not getting the
various Grandpa
times.
Nintendo.
Yeah. Okay. I got it. All right. That's what I got on it. It's a good topics and had a live show. Lord Addict, did you have anything else on the Battlefront 2 before we close out? Or
I was just gonna say that Star Wars Battlefront 2 got announced a couple hours before we did the podcast.
Yeah, I got to check out that trailer. I didn't get to see what's going on. Is Sony got the marketing? Who's got the marketing?
Sony.
That's Sony. That's what I was talking about earlier. That's what I was talking about earlier.
All right.
Right at the end of that trailer, it just said PlayStation. I said, great.
Yeah, man, that marketing is something, and they've got big deals right now. That's that. Now Call of Duty, Destiny. Whew, they got a lot. They got a lot popping right now, so we shall see. But I'm gonna wrap this up. We went a little bit over, but some great topics. Shout out to Lady Bella who came through. That was love. But I want to give my outros out, and my brother from another mother, the non-game aggro gamer who was going in today in those battles and that debate.
That was one for the books.
That was classic. Lord Addict, where can the people find you? I know you got stuff popping right now with the Addict
You
shows.
can find me on YouTube, Gaming Addict. I have an Addict show up there about Windows and Xbox. You can find me on Twitter at Lord Addict. All my gaming medias is Room to Kill, except for Steam. It's Gaming Addict.
No doubt. And of course, Channel 5's own Little Stage Fright today. But he got my man, Lord Kaiser. What's going on? Where can the people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Lord Kaibatsu ILP, as well as on the Iron Lord podcast tweet. You always see me doing that on there. And you can find me on Kaibatsu on Xbox Live.
No doubt. And the Illuminati Lord, my man, Lord Sovereign, where can the people not find you?
If people cannot find me on Xbox Live at VX Sovereign and PSN, VX Sovereign, one word.
No doubt. And this is Lord Cognito here. Great show again, everybody. Thanks for everyone coming through the chat. Yo, the chat was lit today. Shout out to the chat. Like, I haven't seen a more lit chat. It was hard to focus sometimes because I was laughing internally. Shout out to Lord Ruler, Lord Dizzy, Requeno, all my peeps. BK Best in the building has some great points.
Yes, and thank you for the rookie mistake. Do not pay attention to the chat.
Yeah, stop paying attention.
Stop paying attention to the chat.
Yeah. He was off his squabble.
Yeah.
So he got to get out of that. Chat is dangerous. It'll get you. No doubt, Lord Ruler in the building. You know what I'm saying? He has some funny stuff on the Switch too. But shout out to the chat. We love that stuff. That makes the show better. And all the new people that's coming through to listen. We're still the best out here that you haven't heard. And again, this is Lord Cognito. You can find me on Twitter. Y'all know the deal. Lord Cognito. Cognito on Xbox Live. Switch Gang. I'm not giving y'all that social security number so y'all can forget it. And as far as PlayStation, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm getting it back. It's just gonna be Vita right now because that Scorpio. I don't know. But all jokes aside, thanks for listening, everybody. We still the best podcast you never heard. And on that note, we're going to close the show. Peace.
All right, before I stop the broadcast, I just want to remind you guys to make sure to follow us on Twitter. We try to have a guest every week, but sometimes we don't. But you'll find out what guest we have if you follow our Iron Lord's Twitter, or you can follow any of us individually. Yeah, all of that's in the description. Definitely be sure to follow us, subscribe. We're here every Sunday at 1 p.m.
Shout out Dizzy and Playback Gaming. They got some stuff popping too. Word, we don't want to forget Dizzy in here and playbackgaming.net. Go out there, the articles are popping. Me and Diz got some stuff going. Go ahead, Lord Attic. I'm sorry.
The only reason that we did it today on Saturdays because Lady Bella, she's from another country, so we had to kind of sync our we had to sync our times together. But we'll be back next week Sunday at 1 p.m. See you. Have a nice day.